Alright everybody, and welcome to a special Saturday Football Live. We are here at Prestfield, the home of Linlithgow Rose, as they take on Clydebank. Apologies if there's a bit of noise in the background. We're literally in the social club right now, and it's starting to build up. A couple of guys have got a few beers in them, so I am joined by my good man, Jonny Bailey. Jonny, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to today. This is great, being somewhere different, different change of scenery. As you said, there's a real kind of feel of anticipation in there, I think, for this game today. It's going to be a cracker, although I thought I'd seen the last of Clydebank, to be honest, PG, and now here we are again, following them around the country. So I am really looking forward to today. It's great to be here. Thanks to them for picking us up and looking after us.
Definitely. It's going to be a different type of show in a sense because we're somewhere different. So, but it'll be the usual as we go through PG versus the pundits, which is PG versus Jonny today. Sadly, there won't be any Dez's quiz because Dez is not here. But we'll go through the fixtures as always. We'll talk about any points that may arise during the games. We'll talk about co-winning, get a new manager. Sorry. I've looked at my notes, split between two notes there. Cali Local's new manager. We've got co-winning with the sixth sub. Obviously, we had that with Johnson Borough last season. We'll look at that. We'll look at actually back touch on the Knightswood and Dorai game for last week as well, which was quite an interesting one. So if there is anything that anybody watching wants to talk about, get into the comment section. Don't be shy. Anything that you want to speak about and you want to raise, myself and Jonny are more than happy to talk about it. So featured fixtures today, obviously we're starting with Linlithgow against Clydebank. We are here, as you can see behind me, at Prestfield. Linlithgow v Clydebank. Then we've got Froom versus Auchinleck Talbot, Knightswood versus Gallagherdean, Irvine Meadow versus Cumnock, and Glencairn against Thornywood, which will be quite interesting games. Obviously, South Challenge Cup today, so we don't have the usual league action, but we will talk about league stuff as well, as always. Jonny, you're up first. Linlithgow, Clydebank, remember where we are.
I know. Get lynched and we'll get out the door if we say Clydebank's going to win. So if I think that, I'm going to have to say it really quietly. And see, just before we start this, I need to say something. I need to get out my own head when it comes to this, because this is twice that I've played you and twice you beat me. And my problem is I always try and think, how can I catch you out? Like, what one are you going to go for? I don't tend to go in my head. I go in my heart when it comes to these kind of things.
So you're weak-minded?
No, I'm not weak-minded. I just like drama.
Right.
I just want some drama and some excitement, really, is where I'm at. But looking at this game today, it's shaping up to be an absolute cracker. First v second in the lower league. Clydebank undefeated. I looked at the fixtures for both teams in the run-up to the game, doing a wee bit of research last night. Linlithgow so strong at home. At home this season, they've scored 19, they've only conceded 5. Scored 31 over the season already. It's just incredible, their start to the season already. And Clydebank, undefeated, scored 24 in 9 games. Undefeated away from home this season as well. So it's going to be a cracker. But I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say that I think Clydebank's going to win.
Interesting. Now, something that's raised to say they've not lost away from home. Do you know something I find interesting is in the 9 games in the league for Clydebank so far this season, the 2 that have brought points are what we would classify as legacy clubs, Cowdenbeath and Berwick, both at home, which you would expect them to win both of those games. Now, I was at the second half of the Berwick game, and Clydebank were comfortable. They really should have won it. An own Stott error late on put Berwick 3-2 up, and then Clydebank had enough to go and get that equaliser right at the death. Linlithgow Rose, it's interesting for me. I think that Darren Patterson could be a big one today. We spoke to Darren Wilson, the coach at Linlithgow, just before we came on air. We were talking about him, and he has scored. Actually, Gordon Herd was telling me, I can't remember the exact figure. He has scored something like 50 odd goals in the last 2 seasons from a wide position. He's going to cause real issues for. It looks like it could potentially. I've not looked at the team line if it's out yet.
No, yeah, well,
it looks like it could potentially be Jimmy Grant it's up against, and I think that he could cause him real issues. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm looking at, my heart always goes with Clydebank. Being a West team, it's a tough one for me, but you're going Clydebank. Am I going to do what you do and try and see where we can cause a wee rift? Because obviously a draw is not an option today. So,
well, it is. We'll go for 90 minutes.
So go for 90 minutes.
Aye.
I'm going to go the draw. Then I'm going to get splinters in my backside.
The thing is, well, you really look at Clydebank away from home this year so far. 25 goals scored, 1 against. Now I know 11 of them came against Hillfield Swifts in the last round of this cup, so that's a bit of an anomaly. But 2-0 against Gretna, 5-0 against Trinent, 5-0 against Civil Service, 2-1 against Cumbernauld Colts. You know, it's pretty impressive. And on the flip side, Linlithgow 19-4-5 against at home. So slightly more goals conceded. But in saying that, 2 of them came against Gala earlier on in the season what you'd say maybe a shock result and they lost that.
In a game that the result might be overturned.
Oh really? What's happening there?
So
educate me, PG.
Sorry,
educate me.
My apologies. What that shows me is that you've not watched the show back. But I don't always watch yours back, so it's fair enough. I'm smelling the food, by the way, right now. I am absolutely starving. So if that lovely lady wants to bring over some food, she's more than welcome. But Gala played an ineligible player opening day of the season. From what I'm hearing, it's looking like Gala have appealed the decision. So Linlithgow have appealed it. Gala have appealed the appeal. And it's going to go to, I think it's going to go to the governing body. So it'll be I don't know if it'll be the SFA it goes to, whatever. And it could be getting overturned. It could be getting overturned, and it could be 3-0 for Linlithgow. So that could extend their gap and make the goal difference look even better. See, we're looking at, you've got it in front of you. Clydebank have only really conceded 1 goal away from home. Linlithgow score a lot of goals at home. Now, do you think that will cancel each other out, or do you think that we'll see goals?
Well, Linlithgow scored 19 at home so far in 6 games, so over 3 a game, which is very impressive. But then you're looking at Clydebank scoring a lot of goals, so I'm hopeful there'll be goals. I've got a feeling that there will be goals. The park, after the rain that's fallen, the park's going to be nice and slick. 2 good teams playing good football. Or are we going to get 2 good teams cancelling each other out? We end up with a 0-0 or a 1-0 or something like that, you know? So,
you know, that's the fear. That's something you can get a lot with these big games. 2 teams are so evenly matched. Ross McClatchy has just put a comment in. Thanks for that, Ross. This will make and break either Linlithgow or Clydebank season. I still think it's too early for that, particularly with being the cup. Now, see if this was the league, I think this could have a big impact. As I'm talking about, the Gala game could be overturned. It could be putting, get a league table up in front of me, it could be putting Linlithgow 4 points clear. Now, if this was the league, go 7 points clear, third of the way through the season nearly. That could be quite a big one to overcome, but it's the cup, so I don't see it having...
I mean, I think, Ross, thanks for your comment, thanks for engaging, but I do disagree with you. I don't think you can say... Well, not only that it's a bit early, but I don't think you can say that a South Challenge Cup game can make or break your season. You know, because it's a cup competition. I think, as you said, if it was in the league, then maybe it's a different conversation. But I think it's far too early, and it's a different competition. So, thanks for your comment, Ross. But I respectfully disagree with you.
And we have Gary Dunlop. Gary, thanks for commenting. He has given 3-2 to Clydebank. Let's hope for that. That would be hope for that kind of score.
Well, not really, because we're stuck in here. We can't even watch it. So
we've got
I know.
We've got the lovely audience.
So I hope it is a 0-0 draw. Nobody has to stand outside in the rain and the Linlithgow and watch a 0-0.
Right. So I've gone draw. You've gone Clydebank. Moving on to our second featured fixture, and I love. This is the first time I've sat beside you. Normally we're across from each other. I like that you've come better prepared than me. So we've got Truden and the Talbot. I'll take lead on this one. Talbot win. That's me done.
Well, I think.
I don't expect the same result as last time.
Well, I don't expect the same result as last time, but let's be honest, we're not too far from Carstairs, and you would probably end up in there if you bet against Talbot. That during the season, for the season they're having just now, I think you can't see it until Auchinleck shows any signs of the standards that they've set so far dropping. You can't back against them. You just can't. And That's not to take anything away from Troon. I was really impressed with Troon last week. They get a sore one off Auchinleck, 5-2, and they then had a free week where they had to stew on it for a full 7 days without a game. And then they go to Drumchapel and win 3-2 last weekend. I was so impressed with that ability to bounce back and go and get that result against Drumchapel last weekend. But as I said, until we see signs that the Talbot train is slowing down, we can't back again.
No, it's too difficult to say anything other than that. We have our kick-offs, 2 o'clock games kicking off. One of our feature fixtures is kicked off. That is the Meadow in Cumnock. We will keep you, as always, up to date with any scores. But we've both gone for Talbot in that game. The next one,
we've actually Auchinleck have taken the lead after 5 minutes. Kyle McAvoy scored.
Well, I've not even got to that yet. I'm still scrolling through. So 1-0, Kyle McAvoy.
And we didn't know that before we picked.
We have a couple of goals coming in. Glenafton have taken the lead after losing heavily to the Talbot last week. They've taken the lead against Yoker, what you'd expect to be a routine affair. We've also got East Kilbride Thistle have gone 1-0 up against St Cuthbert Wanderers. That is Macca with goal. And Glasgow Uni, it's a friendly. Kyle McAvoy, as you said, with a heading home from a Langan cross, 6 minutes in. We could be looking at a long day for Troon if that's how the game's starting.
Especially because the scars for the previous result will still be pretty raw, so that'll be the last thing you would want is to concede an early goal because you know what's happened in the last game, and you just be looking to try and keep it tight early doors, try and grow into the game. So that'll be really disappointing for Jimmy and the guys to lose a goal so early, and it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from there.
Moving on to our third feature fixture, we have Knightswood are hosting Gala Ferrydean. Knightswood, I believe, they'll be playing at Rob Roy. At the moment, that's where they're playing, not Kelvin side anymore. Gala Ferrydean sitting 6th in the lower league. That could potentially change and drop them into 11th if they lose the 3 points. But as it stands, they're sitting 6th. And Knightswood are having a pretty solid season and sitting 4th in the 3rd division. Only 4 points off of Riot top of the league after their contention in their match last week. But Jonny, what do you think, Knightswood and Gala Ferrydean? Do you think it's going to be an easy run through for Gala Ferrydean, or do you think Knightswood could cause a wee shock?
I think Knightswood could cause a shock. I think for me, they obviously lost their first game of the season and then they've been unbeaten since. But they seem to be drawing a lot of games where they probably should be picking up victories. They've drawn 3 of the last 4. The last 3 league games have all been ended up in draws. They don't concede a lot of goals, which is a positive, whereas Gala do. Gala have 4-16 against 16.
It's quite interesting for a team sitting 6th in the league.
I know. So Gala have been a wee bit inconsistent as well. If you look at the last 5 games, win, loss, win, loss, win. So if we go with the pattern, we'll take a loss and we'll go for a Neilston win. Knightswood win, sorry. That's because I've got Neilston in the head after getting stick from the guys up there. But we'll go for a wee Knightswood win, a wee upset. Why not?
I am going to... Do you know what? I'm going to play this right. So our setup's different today, obviously, with us not being in the studio. In the studio, we have everything's the way it always is. And we have a wee different machine in front of us today, right? So when we get a goal, you will hear this. And that is a goal for Shotts Bonaccord. Mark McKenzie, Squibb scores there against East House Lily. He scores some of that goals, particularly for a man of his vintage. And we also have another. Scott Cowan drives through to give Bellaleven a 1-0 lead. And we have a penalty with St Cadoc's. Penalty St Cadoc's against Hurlford. We have Les Mahago 1-0 up against Royal Albert. So that's at Les Mahago. It's quite an interesting run they've got just now. Glenafton double the lead. They're 2-0 up. Lee Ralston with the goal for Cumnock against the Meadow, one of our featured fixtures there. Gary Muir from the spot puts St Cadoc's ahead. We had the conversation, is that Gary Muir the manager? I don't think so. Then we'll get Gary Dunlop and Ross McClatchy again. Thanks again, guys, for your comments. Both going for Knightswood. I am going to go for a draw in that game.
2 draws now.
2 draws, I'm going for it. If I was putting a coupon on, I could make myself some good money. Oh, I'd probably lose money, but it could be good money if it came in.
Gamble responsibly.
That's it, gamble responsibly. Now, we're obviously, we'll just say Cumnock scored there. Urban Meadow v Cumnock. I'm going to go for a Cumnock win. I know that they've won up early doors. I still think that the Meda at Meda Park have enough about them. I don't know if the Urban Medal manager Jamie McKim is back in the dugout today. Jamie took unwell last week, so I thought Sir Wickham hopefully he's going to be on the mend. But I think that Cumnock, they don't lose a lot of goals. They're 1-up. I think that they'll be able to hold on to it somehow with the Cumnock. What do you think?
I probably agree with you. They don't score a lot of goals either. They played 8, they've only scored 12, and they've conceded 11. Meda impressively only conceded 7 and 7, which is good for them. But obviously, you would expect that with Meda being one of the favourites for that league. With Cumnock being 1-0 up, I would fancy them to go and see that out and win the game.
So, with a goal at Wishaw 0, Lark Hall Thistle 1. Shots are now 2-0 up Taylor Evans with the goal there. It shows on Twitter that Shots have put Taylor's Twitter handle up. He was born in 1999, and he's not that young anymore. How depressing is that?
That is right.
Nearly born in a different millennium.
I remember watching Scotland at France 98, so
I remember that as well. Glencairn and Thornywood, another one of our featured fixtures. Thornywood have just taken the lead there. This is why we normally do the featured fixtures before the games start, but we're both going for Cumnock. Moving on to Glencairn and Thornywood. Who went last? Who went first there? So it was you, me. So it's you. What do you think, Glencairn and Thornywood?
No, just because they've scored, but I was going to go with Thornywood anyway. My reasoning for that is Glencairn have lost the last 2, conceded 17 in 8 games. We know Thornywood can score goals. They've won their last 2, so that's why I was going to go with Thornywood.
I'm going to go the same. I think that Thornywood under Adam Coakley, they had a good end to last season. They're kind of a wee bit of a resurgence. I think that there's talking to Adam. He's actually really, he's a nice guy to talk to. He seems very relaxed about it.
Very measured.
Everything's kind of seems almost fun with him when you talk to him, and that's the impression I get he's going to put in the team. It'll be serious, but it'll probably build a good atmosphere within the club.
Do you know what I took away from him when I talked to him? Because I talk to him regularly on a Sunday, and he normally leaves me voice notes, but he never gets too high, never gets too low. There's a couple of these disappointing results. There's a few good results, but even these good results, he's not like saying they were amazing and this and that and that. And then when they lost, he's, as I said, he's been very measured. He mentioned to me the game they lost against Cairn, and he said they had a different run coming up, and they just had to try and measure that, and they've managed to navigate that pretty well, picking up 2 wins in the last 2. So that's been really impressive for them, and I think Thornywood will go on and win the game.
Apologies, we'll swing. Can you go an answer, Gordon? Sorry, you'll not be on camera, but we'll get you in. So we're just being joined by Linlithgow Rose manager Gordon Heard. So it's delighted to have you, Gordon. We were just talking about it. I won't lie to you. Jonny has gone for a Clydebank win. He's disgraceful that way. I've sat in the fence and gone for a draw through the 90. How are you feeling about this? It's a massive game and maybe a bit of a test for both sides.
I think it's like it's a test for both sides to be able to size each other up for what's probably the most important things in the league. Got a bit of old school junior cup out there. 2 big sides, East versus West, 2 well supported clubs, so it's going to make it a cracker. And it's probably a wee bit early to be facing each other. It's going to be kind of wait for the later rounds, but we'll take it. We're at home. We're in a good bit of form, so it's going to make it a cracker.
One thing both teams are doing this season is scoring a lot of goals. You know, is that something that you want to set your teams up to go and attack and be positive and be in front foot?
Yeah, absolutely. We on Lithgow keep saying it's kind of like fun mentality here. You've got to win every game, you've got to win it a bit style. So players we signed this season, like Blair Henderson, who's just came in last week, and Stenhouse and all that, boys behind the ball will be there for thinking for us. So I think we're averaging about 3 or 4 goals a game, but I think it makes a difference today. But no, I could say we're playing games with a bit of style and just focus.
So, well, me and you have spoken about this before, and myself and Jonny were talking about it just as we came on air. Dylan Patterson's scored a lot of goals. What is it? Do you see the way he plays? I notice when I've watched the highlights, he drifts in a lot and stuff like that and gets himself involved. Is that something that you encourage him to do, or is it you just allow a player like him to go and play his game?
You just let him go and play, because if you try and coach him, or I don't know that he's not a coachable player, you just got to go and let him play. We signed up with Jonny to play both tonight. We man will tell you it's the best player in 10, but I mean, 52 goals to the right hand side. He's got a good one. He's got a good right foot as well. It's not like he's on the left side. He's got a good couple of goals in his right foot. So he's a good to work with. Probably keep saying the guys will not get him. He's the closest thing to not to Ryan Carrigan. He can be up. But no, the new man's been dreaming. He's really good at going to play. But what I will say is, probably teams will start to double up on him. And it's getting frustrating. What you're saying is coming in the outside, teams can't do that anymore because
it frees up your other players.
they get looked. So I think he's feeling freedom with that as well. So no, I was just going to play.
Is the fact that it was Clydebank, did that change your thoughts for this game at all? Because obviously, cup games, the league will be your priority as for everybody. But when you saw it was Clydebank, did that make you think, right, no, we need to make sure we're dialed in, or is it, as you said, with the old firm-like mentality, is that just the way it is as club all the time?
I've been at this club for 20 years. You've always got something beneath this Sophia. I mean, Linlithgow is one of the best players at this level, so there's no about changing anything. We've maybe tweaked a couple of things today for last week, but there's still expect to play back. So, but we've got in our squad that we can do that. It's probably the best squad that we must have had. The best squad that we've seen from the management team. So, we're changing. We should play back, probably changing just for the game as well. The league's the most important thing. So the rest of the couple of guys, like we play back, probably I think they're not struggling with their injuries. So,
what does this mean to you as a manager? Now, this won't make or break your season, but we can see in the social club there's a nice buzz, a nice atmosphere about the place. There's going to be a lot of people here today. But what does it mean for you personally, managing in a game of this magnitude at this level?
I don't think it's any different in another game. I mean, the final focus is to go and win the league, but for me, it's good to have a club in this type of crowd here like yourselves here. Shouldn't be much spotlight on us because we had 1,280 last week with Derby, so it's good. It's good having these games, and I think it's before the reconstruction that's going to happen next season. I'm not a big fan of. For me, I'm confident in a couple of West sides coming in, a couple of bigger East sides, and you've got to make an actual crack league, and you're going to get games like this every week. So, to answer your question, I'm not really changing. Like I say, I've played in a lot of these games, and I've been looking at managing them. It's just another game, it's just about going winning.
Look, Bill, we won't keep you any longer. Thank you very much for having us down here today, and all the best in the game. Cheers, mate.
Good luck today, mate. Cheers. Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Well, there you go. We've just had Linlithgow Rose manager Gordon Herdon. It's great to have a manager's opinions.
I felt terrible there when you stuck me in.
Oh, mate, I had to do it. It made me look better. I'm an absolute rat bag.
I know.
But it's definitely...
I need to think twice about what I say in these shows.
No, you've got to be honest. Look,
that's my problem.
Look, we can't have you being like Dak when me and Dak did this together, right? He was too kind to everybody apart from me, probably. But just to see, we'll get some more goals coming in. Renfrew have taken the lead against Kelly Rovers. That is a goal from Ben McLernan. Van Afton now 3-0 up. So that's only 20 odd minutes in and they're 3-0 up. We've got a goal. Harry Kent scores for Cumbernauld. They're now 2-0 up. Whitlets are ahead at Arthurlie. Whitlets really needing to pick up. The season's maybe not been quite what they hoped it is. Renfrew have now doubled the league. Ryan Rutherford puts them 2-0 up against Kello. And that's down at Kello, which I'm a bit surprised that it's so convincing so early. Maryhill have gone 1-0 up against Ali Vale. Jay Shields, the man who came on late or scored late last week to help them get the win in that game there. Lewis Taylor in 17 minutes makes it 3-0 for Cumbernauld United. Now we have team news in from Clydebank for this big one today. And we have Owen Stott in goals, Adam Hodge, Chris McGowan, Matt Niven, David Simey, Nicky Lowe, Lee Gallagher, Dean Cairns. Dean Cairns making his return after an injury, a really important one for Clydebank. Pierce Sampson, Nicky 200 goals, Little, and Neil McLaughlin. I won't lie, I think that
that's as strong as they can get. Really.
I'd say just now, I think that Big Matty Niven is going to be on it today. I think that he could have a hard game. If it looks like he's potential, I don't know if it'll be him, probably Gowser. Gowser's a good player, so he's got to be on it today just to combat, as Gordon was saying, this free scoring team that Linlithgow have. Jamie Conn has just put Cumnock 2-0 up against Irvine Meadow. A bit of a statement getting made at Meadow Park there. Larry McMahon, former Clydebank player, makes it 1-1 with St Cadets and Hurlford. That short-lived lead in that game there. And Adam Ford makes it 3-0 for the Meadow. I tell you what, we'll tick off that. For Cumnock against the Meadow, we'll tick that off there. And it is now 2-0 to Auchinleck against Troon. That's a couple of games that have already got right. You can tick them off.
Well, if we know anything about this level of football, PG, it's never.
Bet365 would have us paid it already.
I know, the West of Scotland Football League wouldn't pay you out because they know better.
We have a comment in for our one of our members, Paul Smith. Thanks very much, Paul. If we lose today, we weren't really bothered about the cup. If we win, what a marker it is.
It's just fans' mentality. It's brilliant. You love it. And
completely accurate.
I 100% agree with you, Paul.
No, it's completely accurate from there. So, we've obviously done our feature fixtures. We've gone through that. Let's look at some stuff that. Oh well, we're just about to be graced by the man himself, Gordon Moffat, the Clydebank manager, has just walked in. Moff, just grab yourself a seat there, sir. As I'm just saying, joined by Clydebank manager Gordon Moffat. The two Gordons going head to head today in the dugout. Moff, we were talking about how you guys have been excellent defensively away from home against a Linlithgow team who have been excellent at home scoring goals. What are you expecting for this game today?
Hopefully a good game. I think I just said that actually part of the team talk right at the start. I said players that are expecting a good game, looking for a wee bit of gauge on where things are and all that. That's at the end of the day. For me, it's got no bearing on the league really. It's just like a cup guy. It's two strong teams. Hopefully we're going to so hopefully best to win.
Did you look at it any differently because it was in Linlithgow? Obviously, the league is your priority. South Challenge Cup, it's a nice distraction. But when the draw was made and you saw it was in Linlithgow, does that then affect you saying, I need to make sure we put a strong team here?
I mean, I think probably both teams will do that, Jonny. I think obviously something so we'll try to be there. We've had some injury issues, to be honest, at back, so we've patched a few up, but available. So we've kind of landed in the team. We had to practice in forward areas with something more options that's a wee bit more tactical, looking at what might happen, the main pitch and stuff. But I think both teams will look at it. Let's be honest, it's a game both teams want to win, but is it real and end of the league? It's not going to have much impact on the league stuff. So we're going to find that.
How was the pitch? We were coming in, obviously, we've been driving through as well. It's kind of monsoon season. How's the pitch held up with the water?
No, to be fair, it feels pretty good. It's still pretty firm on my foot. I think a lot of things say studs, but to be fair, considering the rain we've had in the last hour, it's still pretty firm, so it's good surface.
I said to Gordon Heard when we were talking to him as well, obviously, you've been on this show more than probably anybody, to be honest with you, and we've spoken quite a lot. You've had the Hibs game and stuff. What do these games mean to you? Do they mean any more? The magnitude of it being top two, somebody could be laying a marker down. You look at this stage that you're going to be the two teams that are fighting to win the title and get promoted into the league, which is something Clydebank have not had in a long, long time. Does it have any extra incentive here, or is it just another game?
If I'm honest, not for me personally, really. I think the winning incentive, it's big anyway. It's a big cup tie, it's an exciting cup tie. I think Tidy sitting there in my line actually saying, obviously, he's the Scott president of the season. This is probably the first game of the season where I've thought, fancy this one. It's one of them that you wish you were playing rather than standing inside watching. So, it's exciting. It's a good occasion. It's a good cup tie. We're honest with both teams going at this stage of the competition, probably not. But it's one that we're definitely looking forward to.
So before you do that, I stuck Jonny in with Gordon Heard and said he picked you guys to win the day. So Johnny's backing you. I have went absolute splinters in the backside and gone for a draw in the 90. But I think we're in for a great game. But Johnny, sorry on you go.
Just one last. Your defensive record this season has been outstanding. That you've only conceded 1 goal away from home. Is that something that you've put an emphasis on over the summer to make sure that you're defensively sound? Or it was good last year. I'm not saying that you were conceding goals last year, but it seems extra.
No, I think it's always something that I have with my team, even going back to the Prestfield days, Jonny. Look at the 2 divisions we take to them. Obviously, the best defender in the league in terms of stats, numbers, conceded. It's a huge thing for me. Maybe being a bit more defensive player, with hard and that. But it's always the foundation for us when we do a game model meeting every single summer to hope the benefit of you guys coming in the club. But that's one of the foundational things that we do not concede goals. Listen, you always get a game where you've got, lost the opponent gets better. But that just happens. It's football. Some days guys are off that. I think it's good work. But in general, we don't really concede more than one or two, and that stands in good stead when you've got the attacking player we do. So there's always an emphasis on that. We're doing every single season to set up. Can we have the best goals against the league? Because it gives a good chance to be that.
Well, look, we'll not hold you much longer. You've got a big game to go and win. So, Bob, thank you very much for coming on. All the best, mate.
No hassle. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
Cheers,
Bob. Well, just heard from Gordon Hill, Linlithgow manager, and Gordon Moffat, Clydebank manager. Myself and Jonny are going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes' time, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us because we're in for a great day. Thanks to everybody who's already tuned in. Remember, if you want to get involved in the show, you can get us on the YouTube comments. Anything you want to ask, you want to say, myself and Jonny are always very, very happy to answer anything at all. So just give us a wee shout. We'll be right back after the break. And welcome back to Saturday Football Live. Apologies.
A mouthful of pizza.
We're sitting eating here. We're sitting eating here because the great hospitality at Linlithgow, they've just fired food right to us, and I'll tell you what, it's not bad, is it?
Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, looked after. Do this every week happily.
It's not bad. Look, we'll try and get ourselves updating some scores here, Jonny.
Let me run through some scores while you're munching away. So Linlithgow went 2-0 up against Royal Albert. Ardere have taken the lead 1-0 against Carluke Rovers. Thorn Athletic 1-0 up against EKYM. Mary Hull are 2-0 up against Abbey Vale. Neilston, aforementioned Neilston taking the lead against Newton Green Star. That's a really good result. Newton Green's a good side. So good to see how that goes. Thorn went 2-0 up against EKYM. Royal Albert won back. Knightswood, in one of our feature fixtures, Knightswood went front. 1-0 up against Gala.
You know, you touched on the Thorn and EKYM. I thought this was quite an interesting one because this is to, I know that Thorn a few years in the setup doing a really good side, but this is two of the good amateur teams that have come into the setup, and it's something a bit different having the two of them playing each other. Thorn obviously, but it looks like going to have too much today, but it's good seeing these teams playing each other, and for EKYM to test themselves against a good side.
Definitely with a bit of an indifferent start to the season they picked up recently, but there's always going to be that adjustment period, so I don't think you can. I think this season is just about getting to know the level and getting to know the ins and outs of it, stuff like that. So almost like a learning season for them, and then we can see how they kick on the next season. Larry McMahon's got second of the day. They've came from behind to lead St Cadoc's 2-1. Kennaway Star have taken the lead against Eglinton 1-0. Arthurlie won back against Whitlets. Larkhall's 2-0 up against Wishaw. Eglinton have got one back actually to make it 1 each. And Craig Mark have taken the lead against Largs 1-0.
Good result there as it stands for them. 3-0 for Maryhill against Abbey Vale. It's Conor Hampton to go there. So we've got Kirkcaldy and Dysart. I'm saying that right. Kirkcaldy and Dysart are playing the Ants. 1-0 up. I don't know anything about Kirkcaldy, I won't lie to you. But this is a bad season for the Ants. They're really struggling. I mean, in league action, they are having quite a bad season. They haven't won a game yet. So
no, they haven't won a game yet.
So let's see, the Ants, I'm in the wrong division, they get relegated.
No, they haven't.
So the Ants are sitting 15, drawn 2, lost 4 out of their 6, scored 5, conceded 15. It's been a really, really poor start of the season for them. And Monty's a great guy, but I thought he was going to get a better tune out of them. And they're losing again today. How concerning do you think that can be for the Ants that the season has gone so poor when you drop in a division?
I think you've got, I suppose you've got to take it into context a wee bit with the new manager coming in, new squad, etc. They had a good draw against Craig Mark recently, and I thought that was going to give a wee boost, a wee push on. But it doesn't seem to happen. And then, I don't know, but the no relegation is any, I don't think there's any reason for panic across the board. But the longer you go, I mean, I know it's been like it. Maybe wait for that first win. The longer it goes, the more concerning it gets. So you just want to get that first win, just to get the monkey off the back a wee bit.
We've got a goal. Burnt Island have gone 1-0 up against Urban Vicks. Ali Martin, the skipper at Shots, has scored there, so that is now 3-0 for Shots. Arthurlie have pulled a goal back against Whitlets. Was that short-lived for Whitlets? While Arthurlie going to kick on. Larkhall doubled the lead against Wishaw, and Eglinton have just pulled a goal back against who's it they're playing?
Kennaway Star, they're actually 2-1 up.
You're a bit ahead with them.
I know.
And Urban Vicks have equalised. Dale McClellan with a goal there, so that is 1-1 with Urban Vicks and Burnt Island.
Girvan are 1-0 up against Cross Gates.
Primrose and Ashfield have taken the lead against Creetown. Creetown, they're North East, aren't they? They Aberdeen.
No, they're South of Scotland.
South of Scotland, is it? Who am I thinking?
We played them in pre-season. I think it was 5-4, 6-4, something, 6-5, something like that. A typical pre-season West of Scotland game, to be honest. But they weren't that great, to be honest. So Ashford was a wee win here.
So that's George Docherty giving us a wee update on a friendly. George, thanks for the comment. Benburb losing 4-1 to Glenvale. I know it's only a friendly. Benburb with a real
look great, does it?
But the new management team coming in, it's not really been going the way they want. I know you're going to have to give them time to change it and get their ideas across. That's not an encouraging result either in a friendly, because you don't want to be getting beat convincingly by a team a league below you as well.
The worst thing,
or 2 leagues below you, is it? 2 leagues below?
2 leagues below, aye. The worst thing that can happen in a friendly, there's always that risk when you play a team that's lower leagues than you, or if you're in the third or the fourth and you play an amateur team or something like that, it's always that risk that you get beat and it looks bad and it feels bad, because you can say to the cows come home that it's just a friendly, it doesn't matter, etc. But that's not how it feels for players, for people watching, people like us talking about it. It does matter, really. If you're a Premier First Division team playing a lower league team in a friendly, you're on a height to nothing anyway, because you either beat them 4-0 and everybody goes up Edinburgh, beat Glenville 4-0, nobody cares, or you lose and then we talk about it and show like this.
And you don't want to say you're blown out of proportion. It's based on the season they've had. And look, if the team's losing most weeks, a new management team you sometimes get that bounce when you initially come in, and they revert back to type. But they're not even getting that bounce, which is a bit concerning. But it's not.
You can do what Craig Bellamy did and just say, "Give me the best team that's out there," and go and play them. See what you're up against.
Glenafton 4-0 up against Yoker, so Yoker are having a really, really tough start. I've realised this whole time we've not the mics up. Can't leave that. My apologies for that. So Glenafton are 4-0 up against Yoker. It's a really tough start for them there. Glenafton needed that to bounce back. They really needed to bounce back. So look, I'm going to move on to something that we've spoken about. Winning, playing the sixth substitute against, who was it playing last week? I've actually gone Pennycook last week in the cup, and it's looking, as far as we're aware, it's looking like it's going to be a replay. So we've got the replay there. We had this happened in the East last season, I think, with a replay in that game. Now, the reason I bring this up is obviously the Johnson Borough game against Darvel last year, where Kyle Lafferty comes on as a sixth sub, wins the header, knocks it on, they go and score a goal, win the game. West of Scotland, the rules of governing bodies are different, but the West of Scotland took 3 points from Johnson Borough. Nothing went to Darvel, no replay. Their reasoning was it's an ineligible player and it's treated like an ineligible player. As at any time where you had your Gart Kelman who were punished for 5 games of 15 points, you had Blantyre punished last year, they've treated it as an ineligible player. Jonny, what do you think on this? Where two governing bodies, separate governing bodies, have deemed this different and gone, you need to play a replay because 6 up, the West of Scotland have gone for an eligible player and 3 points, no further action.
So I've got 2 points of view on it. The first one is it just sums up Scottish football. Where you can have the same situation, you get 2 different outcomes. It just sums up everything that's wrong probably with Scottish football. The second point is, if they're deeming it an ineligible player, the West of Scotland were quite consistent throughout the season, where they got playing the ineligible players, so they lost points. Johnson Borough technically did that in their rules, so they lost points. Blantyre did it, so they lost points. If Kilwinning had played an ineligible player for the full 90 minutes against Pennycook, and they discovered that after the game, would they have replayed the fixture? No chance. No chance. So is that the reason that the views have come out and said that that's what it was? It was an ineligible player, because if it is, then it's
that's the West that did that way.
Right.
So the East, and I'm not even sure who's been the governing body that's decided.
The SJFA was it, surely?
So they deemed it as a replay had to be done, where the West deemed it as an ineligible player. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the West, but I feel like they copped it with the Johnson Borough one for me. And I understand.
I don't actually, because I think that the West, when you look at the Gap Cairn and the Blantyre, etc. situation, at least they were consistent.
I suppose.
At least they were consistent with their rulings. Whereas whereby you play ineligible players and you get deducted points. This is different because it's a cup game, right? But I don't understand how you can play an ineligible player or make 6 subs or whatever and then still get the chance to go and win the game.
I suppose I give you that. Right.
So we broke the rules, but I can still win. I've broke the rules I've absolutely no doubt by mistake, not on purpose. But we broke the rules, but yet we can still win.
We have another issue as well for me. My apologies, I just have to keep it. I'm so greedy that I need to eat all the time. You put food in front of me, I need to eat. But an issue I have as well is why there are no mistakes. There's no ill meaning behind it. Why are we getting referees making this mistake across different governing bodies as well? Why is that happening? I don't know if that it never happened in a game I played, and I'm not saying that referees are worse now than well when I played. I don't believe that, but why is this happened 3 times and potentially a 12-month period?
Can't it be that hard to count to 5? Or to count to 10 if you count both teams. I don't know if there was linesmen at the game. If there was, that makes it even worse. But it's just that I don't. But also as well, and we said this with the Johnston Borough thing. There's obviously mitigating circumstances, whatever, but the coaching staff have got to be aware of it as well. You know, like they've got to understand when we've made their 5 subs, and that's it. And I think there's a multitude of errors happened here for it to get to this stage, and it just doesn't look great at all for the level.
No, it doesn't.
Now that it's happened twice, once you can kind of understand, but twice in less than 12 months.
Or twice in what? 5 months? And that's surely going to be something that's going to be raised at referees training.
Well, I saw in Cohen's statement, I don't know if this was a bit cheeky on their behalf, but they mentioned that the referee had been demoted or been disciplined or something. I'm sure it was, let me check that, but I'm pretty sure there was something along those lines.
As you're checking it, Baylor Clyde have just missed a penalty. Savarese, who's been absolutely banging them in, I think scored 2 penalties last week, has just missed a penalty. Glasgow Uni, after the disappointment of losing to Port Glasgow in a tabletop clash last week, they're 1-0 up against Easterhouse, who are the rivals in the league. They'll look to equalised against Albion Thistle. Nicky Prentice with a goal there. We are now 3-0 up for the Talbot against Troon. 40 minutes in, Kyle McAvoy gets his 2nd of the game. So, on you go, Jonny.
Aye. The compliance officer has advised that the referee has been sanctioned by the SFA refereeing department.
Is that after that game?
Aye, this was their statement that they put out regarding it. They're saying the club fielded a 6 substitute during the match, formally notified of the breach by the compliance officer. Yada yada yada. It was made inadvertently during a motor concern for Ryan Wilson, who sustained an injury during the match. Listen, see, at the end of the day, I don't think they should. Thank you very much. They should be trying to justify it, if that makes sense, because we all know
it's a mistake.
It's just a mistake. I mean, one thing I thought was really refreshing when we had Murdy on my show was he just held his hand up straight away and said, I made a mistake.
And do you know what? People can forgive that much easier than saying, oh, it's because of this, because of that. You're like, you made a mistake, that's fine. And I thought Murdy was great when he came on, and he was very honest about it. And like I said, so much easier to forgive that than when they make excuses. Atherley, after being 1 behind, are now 2-1 up against Whitlicks. It's getting bad to worse for St Anthony's. 39 minutes on, Jack O'Donnell scores for Kirkcaldy. That is 2-0 to Kirkcaldy at St Anthony's at McKenna Park. Glenafton now 5 up at half-time. Yoker, a young Yoker side, clearly really struggling against Glenafton in that game. So that is 5-0 there.
See, when you go to these lower-level teams, look, we've all been there where you're maybe playing a team in a higher division. What the last thing you normally say before you leave the dressing room is, let's get an early goal. You know, and then you can build from there. Glenafton away and done that for 100%. Quite an interesting one, Les Mahago Royal Albert, which is Daryl Meeko, Les Mahago, Connor Whitehead at Royal Albert. Good mates. They both took the Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon teams at Les Mahago Amateurs, I'm sure it was. And now they're meeting at Les Mahago. Les Mahago were 2 up early on. Royal Albert getting it back to 2-2. Do you know, Royal Albert, for me, this season are having a really good under-the-radar start. Now, obviously, last season, they had a really, really poor start. Then they brought in some fresh bodies and really turned around. And I fancied them for being contenders for the league this season. Maybe we can look being so dominant and winning 6 out of 6. It might be too much for them. But you're looking at Royal Albert, 6 games played in the league, 3 wins, 3 draws. Scored 10, conceded 7, and as I say weekly on this show, if you're roughly a goal a game at this level, conceding wise, you're going to do well, and that is exactly what Connor's team are doing. So that's it. I speak to Connor pretty regularly, and at the start of the season, he was very he was kind of saying that they were missing a lot of bodies. You couldn't get a settled team on the park. We're missing chances, etc. But once they got that right, they would be fine. And I think that's been proven. I think he's been absolutely spot on with that.
Definitely. Clyde under their new management team are 2-0 up against Bonton. So that is Clyde 2-0 up against Bonton at half time. Pollock just equalised against Dundonald. Matthew O'Donnell with a goal there. That is 1-1. They were a later kick-off. So that was a half-2 kick-off in that game. 1-1 after 16 minutes. Half-time at Rutherland Glencairn, still 1-0 to Thornwood in a feature fixture. Kilbirnie and Cali Locals. New Cali Locals, which leads us nicely on to the New Cali Locals management team going in, which is Stevie Marsden, Keir Milligan, and then about 7 other people. But
Couldn't they fit them in a social club?
they couldn't get them in here. This is quite a big place. But it's been a decent start. I know Kilbirnie are not having a great season, but a league separating the two of them. Cali Locals not conceding a goal in the first half there. It's been a good start for the new management team. What's your thoughts on that new management team coming into place at Cali Locals?
Like I said, there's so many of them. And do you know something? I read the statement last night from Cali Locals, and a bit of it confused me. Maybe you can help.
Okay.
So we've got Stevie Marsland in as the manager.
Yep.
Keir Milligan is his assistant.
Yep.
Michael Scott as and I quote head coach.
Which would, in my eyes, would only be a manager.
Who's the manager, right? And then you've got Simon Marmon and Gordon Thompson as first team coaches.
Right.
So who's do you know? Am I being stupid?
No, I see,
like,
see when I see head coach, that's normally to me.
So for me, you get a manager, an assistant, and coaches.
Yes.
That's your structure. You know, I don't know. We'll see how it works. I don't know Stephen at all. I wish him well.
Have they got,
I do.
Have they got
We've got an analyst as well, Scott
analyst.
Kennedy. They've got a goalie coach, David Pilkington, as well. So 7 big coaching staff.
You know,
see that
you couldn't have all them on the bench. I mean, literally, you would not be allowed to have them all on the bench.
No. The only concerning thing for me as well is, as a manager, you need clear, concise information from your coaching team, because you need to make decisions. And if you make the wrong decisions, it's your head that's on the block. If you've got that many voices, who knows? I don't know who'll talk to him or whatever, and who'll give them information. But it's a lot of people.
I know.
A lot of people. And listen, I can understand that maybe you want to make sure that training's always covered. Maybe what some of these guys work shifts, who knows? You don't know. There could be a million reasons for it. But it just kind of stood out to me, and I kept reading them, going, "Oh, there's another name, and there's another name, and there's another name."
To me, it's a strange one in terms of having that many. Like, completely managers' prerogative.
Rangers the same.
Maybe it's a kind of
Maybe we're wrong.
Maybe. I always thought you'd have manager, assistant, maybe one or two coaches, and your goalkeeping coach. But Stevie Marsden coming in, he was the Knightswood manager the first season that they came into the start-up. I had to say a pretty respectable season, mid-table-ish in the first year, which I think, considering the circumstances, was a decent enough season. Then he took over at St Peter's, and it was a bit of a strange one. It was only a month or so that he was in charge there, but again, that was circumstances behind the scenes. I don't believe that had any bearing on Stevie.
So was Stevie the manager when St Peter's, they were up the top of the 4th division and it all fell apart? No. You had Paul McTaggart was manager when I was assistant. Then you had Jerry D and Neil and Gaff took over. And then when they left, you had Stevie come in. And then Stevie, what happened with him, he left. And then Kenny Henderson's come in. Now, from speaking to certain people involved at the club, that period of Stevie being there and Kenny coming in was a bit of a bin fire. The committee were a bit all over the place. Kenny has, as far as I'm aware, helped stabilise the club. Despite having a really poor season this season, he's helped stabilise the club. And they're now in a better position. I think they're getting another 4 or 5 members of the committee in, so it's now in a much better position. So it's, for me, again, it's with Stevie Martin, that is no fault of his own. I think there was just circumstance and he had to go. So it's an interesting appointment based on purely just having been the Knightswood manager. I don't think they have the same funding that Knightswood now have. So he had a reasonable season. So I wonder where it will go. I wonder how they'll do, because they're sitting currently, played 6 games, won 1, drawn 1, and lost 4 in the league. Now the one they won was funnily up against Clyde Rangers, where the new management team are. 10 scored, 19 conceded, so clearly defensively is an issue. We'll see how it plays out.
doesn't seem like a defensive issue today, 0-0 with Kilbirnie, but Kilbirnie themselves slightly go off a wee bit. They're just such a funny side. I mean, we're looking at the league table, that's 7 games played, 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 defeats, 14 scored, 15 against. That's pretty similar to last season as well. They're very much a...
But remember early on in the season, they were up the top end, weren't they? But it's just, again, it's... They lose or draw too many games for winning positions, in my opinion. And that's what I think has been their undoing. I think they were 2-0 up last week against Thornywood and lost 3-2. You know, so that's... It's just those type of games that's really disappointing. I think they're not ahead against Darvel as well, 2-0. They were up against Darvel and threw that away. So they just lose too many games for winning positions to be considered out-and-out contenders.
I would tend to agree, and it's just before half-time, just on the stroke of half-time, Glenafton 5-0 up against Yoker. So down at Glenafton, Yoker are clearly having a tough day of that. Dom O'Donnell, first time managing this level. I think he's had a no bad start to the season for him, particularly with a young team that he's had to add a lot of bodies to, but this is looking like definitely a bridge too far for them today. I mean,
it's the old let's go and try and win the second half.
But I mean, you're going to struggle to do anything that. But this is exactly what Paul Payton's Glenafton team needed after last week, where we spoke to Paul on the show, praised them with how well they started the season, and they really, even taking last week aside, if it was just a defeat, you'd say that's not a good start to the season. I mean, they've won 4, drawn 1, lost 2, scored 12, conceded 15, but half of those conceded was last week against the Talbot, who it looks at this time in the season for the Talbot, where did they get? Who stops them? Because Trooner second in the league, had a great season, 1-6 and lost 1 obviously to the Talbot. Talbot just picked them apart, 5-2, 3-0 at half time today. I mean, who stops the Talbot?
No, that's what I said earlier, right at the start of the show. PG, until you see any signs of it slowing down, you can't assume they're going to, because every week it just seems like they just kick on even more. And Glenafton last week, it was really important. It's probably a good game for Paul to have with Yoker coming to town. You know, you've got a home game against a team, a new team for a couple of leagues below you. It's probably the ideal kind of paracetamol, if you like, for the sore head of getting beat 7-1 the week before. But walking like it just doesn't seem like stopping.
No, do you know what? Last season, Clydebank had a feeling about them in the Premier League where they obviously only lost 1 game, and it was the week after they'd won the league. So it was obviously it was a game that, in a sense, meant nothing. I mean, it would have meant something to them losing that game, but they were so comfortable all season and so strong, but they weren't winning like the Talbot are winning this year. I mean, that's 33 goals in 7 games, another 3 today. They're only conceding 7 again, that 1 goal per game. This is do you know, like, this feels like the Talbot of maybe 15 years ago? The way that
better than that,
it does actually.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because
they would lose games.
I think we talked about Clydebank last year and Talbot teams of old. There was almost like an inevitability that they would find a way to beat you, and they would beat you. Maybe not always. Maybe wouldn't always batter you, but they would always beat you. Whereas it just seems like they're just battering every day. You know,
I know.
It's like I said, 33 goals in 7 games, and that's not including the cup game where they scored 5, I think, against Haddington. So you know, and then they scored 3 in the first half.
First half against the second best team at the level just now.
You know,
let's look at it just now, right? So the last game they lost was the pre-season cup to Clydebank, but they lost 4-1 quite convincing. I remember thinking after that game, obviously Clydebank, very good side. I was thinking, well, this will be a tricky season for the Talbot. Since then, 4-0 against Hurlford, 4-0 against Port, 4-2 against Arthurlie, 7-2 against St Cadoc's, 2-0 against Bede, 5-2 against Troon, 4-0 against Haddington, 7-1 against Glenafton, 3-0 today so far. I mean, that's unbelievable at any level. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it could be like record breaking stuff, you know, if it keeps up. But it will slow down. Well, I keep saying that. I know, but we're 7 games in, you know, but 8 games in, we keep saying that it will slow down at some point. But
it's also, for me, they do have a decent budget, but this kind of blows the budget stuff out of the water as well, where they do not have the budget of your Johnson Burrows. Troon probably have a bigger budget in terms of what they pay players. You've got a couple of clubs who will be paying similar to the Talbot. It shows that Tucker's taken 3 or 4 years to rebuild the team, and now we're starting to see it come to fruition for them. It's
We saw that with the end of the season last year. They really kicked on towards the end of last season, and it was just really what they would do to then kick it on again from last season to this season.
Definitely.
As I've said before, bringing Willie Muir in goals. I know that it's at the top end of the part that they're making headlines, but I think Willie Muir's been a great signing for them.
Definitely. Look, we're going to go to another break. As you can probably hear, it's a lot quieter in here. It's now 3 o'clock. The Linlithgow and Clydebank game will just be kicking off, so we can enjoy a wee bit of peace and quiet. But look, we'll be right back in about 2 minutes' time. Cheers, see you soon. And welcome back to Saturday Football Live. Myself and Jonny Bailey are here at Prestfield at Linlithgow Clydebank. The game has literally just kicked off. We've heard the whistle go just there. And we got a wee update from a game at half-time, actually. So, George Wallace, obviously no game for Mabel today. George has been kind enough to go to a game. He was going to go to the Troon and Talbot game, but he's gone to Whitlocks and Athley. So, can you just hold that up to the mic, Jonny, and we'll let people hear about it.
Athley games did 2-1 Athley half time. What started well, he's got a wee chances. Tony Hughes scored a header, bounced, the goals, really missed it, and then Athley came back at the game. Going to left hand side, I think it's boy Heaney, goes with problems, cutting inside, shots stuff like that. Goals came for closest to the one side, and the box striker just turns it as basically dead goals.
Well, Quentin, I think Whitlocks, see if you're a Whitlocks manager, how are you feeling going at half time? You know your season's been really tough. You go 1-up and you're probably thinking, great, good start, that's exactly what we're looking for. And then Athley, obviously a better side, higher up in the league, or league above, but to throw it away and look like you're going to be struggling the rest of the game.
The problem Willis have got, and Graham Neal, the Willis manager's got, and I talk to him fairly regularly, is they're just conceding goals. Just conceding goals all the time, which is no kind of winning games of football. So even when they went 1-0 up, I'm sure Graham would have been on the sideline saying, right, this is amazing, but we're probably going to concede. Do you know what I mean? And then lo and behold, they have, unfortunately. But it's one of those ones you look at and you go, right, everybody would probably pick Arthur to win that game. So it's no surprise result, but you want to make sure that you keep it competitive and see if you can nick something on the back end.
Definitely. And we've actually got a half-time score coming into my beloved Port Glasgow, 1-0 down to Civil Service Draws. That's a decent result. Civil Service Draws is a good side. Port Glasgow obviously quite a few leagues below them, 4 leagues below them. Decent, but have we got any updates on Knightswood?
Knightswood haven't seen anything yet. I think the second halves are just kind of kicking off as we kind of come back to you. Lesmahago went 3-2 up against Royal Albert, and Rutherglen have scored to equalise, make it 1 each.
1-1 there. So that's quite an interesting one. I see. Did
you go for a draw that one?
No, I went for Thornton.
No, did you?
Of course, I didn't go for a draw on that.
Good. You went for a draw with every other one. So you went for a draw with every other one, didn't you?
Definitely, I did. Lesmahago have just taken the lead against Royal Albert.
Did you say that?
3-2 to Lesmahago. Did you say that?
I did. We should really just let one person do the scores and then the other person can just sit and say nothing. Because
did you know that Brinkett just scored to make it 1 each?
Did you take a draw on that one, didn't you?
Abbey Vale have just scored a goal back at Maryhill. That is now 3-1 to Maryhill. Do you know, I was saying earlier, I realised that we had to put the mics up and we're still talking. And normally when that happens, people will comment and say that the mics are on. But I've realised I had the wrong mic set up on the computer.
Oh, well.
That's the issue. See, when you've got a novice like me here, so I'm hoping that's no meant that the interviews we've had with Gordon Herd and Gordon Moffat, they were fine, Toby. Well, that's great news, and I've got away with it.
I know, it's good. It's just good we've got Toby here to help us out,
Pretend I didn't say that because
the gaffer's in the house behind the scenes on the ones and twos, keeping us right, thankfully.
I tell you what, it's a nice wee setup. Linlithgow got
class.
It's really good, and we'd spoken in the car on the way here. Last time you were here, it was a 7-1 down with Anne Bank. Last time I was here was a 5-1 down with Cumnock in the Scottish Cup. So it's nice to be here in nicer circumstances.
Aye, it's a great place to come. I mean, it's one of the old. I say all the time, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to this level of football, and it's one of the old traditional grounds that you go to, and it's got a special feeling about it. The park's kind of tight and enclosed with the wall around it, and then you've got the stand hanging over it and the far side and stuff. It's just a lovely place to come. It's great.
And even obviously when you're watching this, you don't see, you can only see us two and what's behind us, but a nice wee social club. And that's something I always think when we're talking about the Talbot is they have that proper community feel, because there isn't, let's no kid, there's no great deal in that part of Ayrshire apart from
football.
The football clubs, you know what I mean? Like Talbot, Cumnock, Glenafton, even your Lugers, you know what I mean? Obviously don't get quite the same support, but these places are so important for clubs to financially compete as well, because Linlithgow are clearly financially sound, and having this, we've had probably, as we're sitting here,
it's been busy.
It's been about 100 people in here, all buying drink and food, and you're like, it's great. It's great.
And it contributes to the atmosphere and the feeling about the place as well. I said that right at the top of the show. There was just a good buzz about it, and I'm sure it's like that most weeks. We're up here, I'm sure it's exactly the same. It's a great place to come, and for me, you look at teams like this, they've got so much to contribute to Scottish football, and it should be encouraged rather than fought against as it is from our friends at the SPFL.
Definitely. You also look at the last 2 weeks for Linlithgow at home, the big derby, bonus. I wonder if something's just happening, a wee bit of noise outside there. You bonus here last week, right? So Gordon was telling us close to 1,300 at that game. Today, I'm not sure what's outside, but you're probably going to be over 1,000. And Luke Main has made it 4-0 to the Talbot against Troon. It's just, it seems like Troon can't compete with that. We've got a wee comment for Ross McClatchy there. Tucker knows how to get the best players that are the gems for the league. Also knows how to get the best out. I suppose I'd completely agree with that.
Aye, I disagree with you earlier, Ross, but I fully 100% agree with you. And I also think as well, on just kind of piggybacking onto that point, Ross, that Tucker is the best at identifying gems in the lower leagues.
100%.
And then one thing that he does, and he does it with boys all the time, where he'll put them on the bench for a season and see if they can grow into it, you know, and really kind of cultivates them and lets them grow. He doesn't just buy them, throw them in, they don't work, he gets rid of them. You know, now he's in a great position because he's one of the best clubs in the country, but he tends to take his time with them, and if they're good enough, they'll get in the team.
A prime example of that is Luke Gillis right now. I mean, he's come in, he's been a bit part player a couple of seasons ago, played a bit more last season, mainstay in the team, scoring goals, making a big impact, and I think that's definitely the case. Arthur are now 3-1 up, a penalty, McNeil with a goal there against Whitlow, so that is looking like it's potentially game over there after such a bright start. East Kilbride have just gone 2-0 up against St Cuthbert Wanderers. That's Kieran Evans with a goal there. Fraser Stobie scores an absolute worldie according to Cumbernauld United's Twitter, so that is them now. I think that's them 3-0 up there as well. So there's a lot coming in. So a game I wanted to talk about last week that we had was Knightswood and Dorai. Top of the table, we had top four playing each other. Dorai first playing Knightswood fourth last week. Glasgow Uni second playing Port Glasgow third. Port Glasgow looked like they're going to get a comfortable win there, 4-1 in that game. We ended up with a draw with the Dorai and Knightswood game. Both teams going down to 9 men. Dorai getting their keeper sent off early doors. Knightswood take the lead. Then, to make matters even more confrontational, we have a goal scored late on. Now, something that you're talking about, this is a traditional ground, a lot of these traditional type places, whereas Knightswood are playing at Rob Roy just now, which isn't, it's brand new, it's a new facility. You have the Astro pitch, the goals that have got the wheels on it that have to move. The ball hits one of the wheels inside the goal last week, bounces back out. We spoke to Knightswood manager Michael Pender after it last week, and he was bitterly disappointed. And I spoke to Chris Wilson, Dorai manager, during the week. He said that he completely agreed with some of the things that Michael had said on the show, but felt there was decisions that went against Dorai as well. The reason I'm saying this, I want to take us back to what we talked about with refereeing decisions. You will hear people saying refereeing's getting worse. I personally do not think that, because I remember thinking referees were terrible when we played. Do you think there's anything in that, or do you think, because you go to more games than I do?
No, I think that what I always say to people, and I always say this to George on the sidelines when he gets angry with referees, because he's an angry big guy, and I always say, look at the standard of refereeing in the SPL. What chance have we got at level 10?
League as well,
do you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Look, what chance have we got down at level 10? We've got to remember, we are, whether we like it or not, we are a breeding ground for referees. So we're like a trial for guys that want to step up, and we've seen umpteen referees at our level go up into the higher levels of Scottish football. So we're going to have to understand that mistakes are going to happen, and yes, it drives you nuts and it makes you lose your rag at times when things go against you. But see, for me, and I'm guilty of this myself, as a manager or a coach, you always focus on the things that went against you. You know, you don't remember when you got that one spot on, you know, or things like that. So you always remember, and you always want to talk about it. And it's something that I try when I talk to my managers on a Sunday in preparation for my show on a Sunday night. Whenever they talk about referees, I try and avoid it if I can, because every manager is always going to say that they're done by, you know, and it can be a wee bit unfair on them. But what I would say in mitigation of that is, I do think the communication skills of referees has got less since we stopped playing, because we had referees that not everyone, but I would say more often than not, they would engage you in conversation and they would have a quick chat with you, and I think that has gone out of the game a wee bit.
I don't know if it was you that was talking about this before when you were on the show. I always remember, and this was at lower levels, I remember having, so to go on a tangent here, I remember when I was at Cumnock, we used to go down to Durham every pre-season, and sadly one of my teammates, Big Potsy, passed away when we were doing that. And the next year we went back down and played Chesterley Street again, and it was kind of like a memorial match almost. And Mark Clydebank from being from that area refereed the game. And I always remember, like centre half at Chesterley Street, I was playing centre forward at the time. Myself and I used to be a centre forward. Myself and
If you're listening in audio form, you'll not realise what face I just made, but you can imagine.
so I was actually no the worst centre forward. I actually scored 12. I'm going to tangent so early. Scored 12 in my last season for Port Glasgow for right back. But myself and Gareth Campbell were playing up front in a Chesterley Street centre half. Big bear of a man. We were only like 21, 22 at the time, and he was kicking lumps at us. Battenbergs walked up to us and said, "Look, lads, if you want to get him back, I'll just get a foul and we'll move on for it." So the two of us just took turns of kicking him, but he managed the game. And as soon as we both fouled him, he was like, "That's it, it's done," and we moved on. And I remember that's where I was coming back to. I don't know if it was you that said it. Do you remember years ago the Kiwi ref?
Matthew Den.
So I thought he was great.
He was.
He used to speak to you, and I always liked it. See if a referee knew your name and would say, "Oh, Paul, Jonny, settle down. Look, that's a couple you've done. You need to relax." I find that takes a lot of sting at you. But see now when you get the referees that do all that, throwing a hand up and don't talk to me, away you go. It just riles you up and makes the environment.
I think but it's probably a wider point in society just now that communication skills are a diminishing skill across the board with young people. You see that even at our football when you're looking at boys and they just don't communicate with each other, don't talk to each other, you know. But I used to love going to football because you didn't even have to shut up. You know, you could just carry on and have a laugh and all that kind of thing, and try to have conversations with some of these boys is difficult. You know, I do it in my job sometimes when you're dealing with young people and you're interviewing them for jobs or whatever, and communication skills, it needs to be improved, I think, across the board, but definitely with referees.
You know, you're talking about,
and we need to communicate better with them as well.
100%.
You know, like,
you can't be just bombarded.
You know, like, I don't mind see the ref says, "Look, I'll talk to you, but don't run at me or shout at me or swear at me and stuff like that." You know, you can say, "Right, okay, fair enough. Like, I understand. It's no bother."
Well, it's actually you talk about that with your work, right? This is clearly PG's tangent time, but in my work, they have now started doing courses on how to speak to people.
And it's embarrassing.
That's a bit ridiculous. Goals coming in. Kilbirnie have taken the lead against Cali Locals, so that's 1-0 there. Greenock have just scored to make it 1-1. Cumbernauld have gone 5-0 up. Lewis Taylor with second goal of the game, so that's 5-0. Wishaw have pulled one back against Lark Hall. That is 1.
Do you know what happens here? I've just realised what we do differently. You go for the bottom up when you're looking at scores, and I go for the top down because you get the most recent scores.
No, I get that, but
that's why we're crossing over at times. So I'll just leave you to it.
Because I made up if anybody's interested, I made up the WSFL and Lowland League.
Nobody's interested. Like, we had 9 viewers there and I've just went down to none.
If you want to check out how scores are coming in, I made it up on Twitter, so you can just go and look at it. WSFL and Lowland League, get it in the lists, and then actually you always get your scores come up as well. Burnt Island 2-1 up against Urban Victoria. Cali Locals bounce right back against Kilbirnie Ladeside and make it 1-1. Cowdenbeath are 2-0 up against Blackburn United as it stands. And Wishaw, after being 2-0 down, have just made it 2-2 within a few minutes. Scott Cowan makes it 2-0 Vela leaving again. Scott Cowan scores quite a few goals.
Knightswood 2-0 up against Gala.
Wow, there you go. So that's I should got that one up on me.
Well, we hope so anyway.
Kieran McInerney with a goal for Cali Locals. Whitlets have pulled one back against Arthurlie, so that is now 3-2. Just as Vela leaving go 2-0 up, fourth pull a goal back is now 2-1. And Craig Mark showed great resolve, but only lasted for 59 minutes. David Ramsey with a goal for Larg makes it 1-1 in that game there.
Gala have got one back against Knightswood just as quickly as Knightswood go up. So
it's quite interesting there. We're actually going to have a wee look through the leagues now. And we're going to start with the Lowland League. Now, I know there's obviously no league action, but we've spoken obviously at length about Linlithgow and Clydebank. Cali Braves are making a wee bit of resurgence after having a great season last season. They've now got themselves into third place after a shaky start. They've really picked up. Do you think that anybody can challenge Clydebank and Linlithgow this season?
No. I think even with Cali Braves' wee resurgence that you're talking about, there's still a 7-point gap between them and the top two. I think it's going to be a straight shootout between those two. And I fell into this trap last year when I said this about the second divisions, but
You're sticking to your
I'm sticking to my guns.
To be honest, these two teams look like the two that have got it. I mean, we could potentially, if that fixture from the opening day is overturned with Gala and Linlithgow could be sitting 9 games played, 9 wins, 34 goals for, 4 against. And they're sitting with 27 points, 4 points clear of Clydebank. Still we play each other twice in the league though. How important, if both teams keep going away, how important do you see that first Clydebank and Linlithgow?
I think both games will be massive. I don't know when they are, but I hope they're not for a while. It would be great if we could have that as a kind of league decider towards the end of the season, because the crowd that would turn out for that would be incredible.
Well,
it'd be
you're actually looking second last game of the season is Linlithgow and Clydebank here at Prestfield. So that's kind of, they're actually so they're playing today obviously, and I'll have a wee look through when they have them again. So it's there you go, 22nd of November. That'll be an interesting day, and the league quite clearly going to be one a featured fixture that day, but it'll be quite interesting. This, I suppose, is where the issue lies with how promotion and relegation goes in the Lowland League, and it's a big. You had Gordon Herd talking about it, where it's an issue for him. He doesn't want them to be split. No relegation this year, but normally it's one going down, one coming up. It's maybe not even one going up. It's not good enough, is it?
No, it's not. It's so frustrating. As I said, both teams' ambitions to go up through the leagues. They've invested properly. They're doing things the right way. They're both having great seasons. And to think there's only one promotion, well, not even a promotion spot, but a potential promotion spot. So you win the league, you compete against really good sides in the Lowland League. You win more games than anybody else. You win the league, and you're still not guaranteed the promotion. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. But it's going to take more than us to change it.
The self-preservation in Scottish football is beyond belief when you look at it. I mean, that was even, remember when we were talking about the reconstruction with the lower leagues and the professional game, if you want to call it that, and they were talking about an 8-team League 2 with invitations. Obviously, that's been kiboshed completely, but they were talking about invitations, which just meant basically Cowdenbeath, Albion Rovers, Berwick Rangers, East Stirling, we're all going to come back in through the back door, and then maybe get a couple of teams coming in that would have got it in merit. But again, we're looking at not one of the relegated teams, excluding Bonnydig, because I always exclude them, because to me, Bonnydig's an ex-junior team. Not one of the other teams who have been relegated to League 2 are in the top half of the league. Albion Rovers,
they've not even came close.
Albion Rovers were in the top 7 last season. Other than that, I mean, it's embarrassing how
if you gave me a magic wand, I would say I would reorganise the whole thing into 3, from the SPL down into 3 leagues of 16, and then a 3 up and 3 down for there. You know, that's how I would do it. And I know the SPL are never going to vote for it, because they're not going to vote. They want their 4 games against the Old Firm. Of course they do. But for me, that would be a much better way to do it.
I know, again, if we're doing magic wand stuff, do you think that decision should just be taken at the hands of these clubs?
But it's not, because you've got the television, people will probably make the bigger decisions, and then you've got the clubs looking after each other and looking after themselves and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be great if somebody could, but I think it's probably went too far that it's not going to happen now, if that makes sense.
Even talking about TV money, and I appreciate, and a wee kind of lull the now while the game's going on, we're going off topic for this level, but even talking about television money, the SFA or the SPFL, whoever it is that decides who it deals with, well, saying, we get so much money per game, more than, we talk about, use Sweden as examples, the Swedish league gets more money than our league does, but per game we get more money than they do. But the problem is, I think fans would rather just give us more money and then we can get more games on the telly as well. Like, if you want to use an extra £10 million and put an extra 20 games on, we can watch more football and our clubs get more money. And
plus, make the product better. Improves it. But not only that, is if you make the leagues bigger, then it also means that you've got more Scottish players will get opportunities, because it's not as cutthroat as it is just now with the 12 leagues, with the 12 team leagues, and then the 10 team leagues below that. So I mean, even if you're looking at teams in the Championship, are they really going to give opportunities to young Scottish players that maybe 16, 17-year-old when they know that if they lose 2 games, they could end up in League One or League Two?
I actually went on to, what's that, the other wee radio show that does the phone and stuff, I can't remember what it's called, right? I was on that, right, because I actually was talking about reconstruction at our level and reconstruction at the level above, and it was, going completely blank, Jim Duffy was on it, and I had made a comment or the point of, if we have that, we're talking to like Dunfermline, who are in League One, would be in the Championship. And if Dunfermline, at this, based on how they're just now, they're Championship now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they would have a safety net, right? If they're not making top 4 for playoffs, they would have a safety net. They are not going to finish 14th or 15th, right? You're not telling me that Neil Lennon can turn around and say, we get 3 boys to the 20s who are doing very well just now. I can play, give them some minutes, maybe 1 or 2, sprinkle them in it, and give them some minutes. You're not telling me that that's got a better chance of happening when you've got a team who are getting no chance of getting relegated. But on the flip side, if Neil McCann's Dunfermline, Neil Lennon's Dunfermline team are sitting 7th in the league, and the bottom 2 are going down in the playoffs, he's like, I cannot afford to be giving this young boy a chance. Jim Duffy disagreed with me, but I just don't see how that.
The SPL's the same because of the clamour to get in the top 6 and what that matters to so many players. I mean, I think the statistics that have been released recently about the amount of young Scottish players
awful
coming through, it should be embarrassing. You know, like there should be more made of it in terms of holding the clubs accountable. But as long as they get the money for the Old Firm coming to town at 4 times, or playing Old Firm 4 times, then they don't care.
At Motherwell, who I think Motherwell were the team who were one of the best for playing Scottish players. You look at the last few years. I mean, obviously Lennon Miller was £4.5 million this year. They had the 3 and a bit for Turnbull a few years ago at Celtic. They've had a couple of players that have gone. Now, Lennon Miller might pay for their new training facility, and that's how important playing the young Scottish players is. I do understand though that if you're worried about relegation or making top 6 or whatever, then it does impact you. But like you said, a bigger league maybe mitigate some of that. And
then also opens it up for teams at our level to actually go up. So if you imagine you had 3, for me it'd be 3 down for the 3rd division, if you like. So you Premier 1st and 2nd, 3 down from the 2nd, Highland, Low and East and Low and West, straight up. I know. And there we go. Go for there.
You're looking at Clydebank, Linlithgow and Brora Rangers all promoted with decent crowds, particularly Clydebank and Linlithgow having decent crowds, bringing more revenue to clubs that are in your forfers or whatever, right? Bringing more revenue. Then bringing more revenue. I know it's not huge, right? It's not like when Rangers were in the low leagues, bringing thousands and thousands. But see if for a smaller community, and you have Clydebank who are bringing 300 fans through, that makes a small impact on your local community as well.
Well, if you say they bring 300 fans, they pay a tenner to get in. That's $3,000. And then they spend £20 in the bar or the pie hut. That's $6,000. So you're making nearly $10,000. On a weekend for a club like Linlithgow. That's a good amount of dough.
Because that pays a fair chunk of your wage bill. That might pay
maybe half.
That might
for a week.
That might pay a decent amount. We've got some goals coming in. Dunny Pace are 1-0 up against Co-winning Rangers. That is at Co-winning. East Kilbride now 3-0 up against St Cuthbert Wanderers. The South of Scotland team really struggling there. Nicky Moore with the goal. Still 1-1 with Craigmark and Largs. And Glencairn are now 2-1 up against Thorney.
Good turnaround.
So good for us. Well done. We picked that well.
No, I picked Thorneywood.
And so did I. That was sarcasm.
Oh, was it? Sorry.
Bela Clyde 1-0.
Hung about me that much, I don't really.
I know, mate. I know it's part of that bag. It's
Couldn't get one back at Auchinleck.
Well, Crossgate's Primrose are now 2-1 up against Girvan. A disappointing one for Girvan there. 4-1, Andrew Skinner with a goal for Maryhill. So that's 4-1 against Abbey Vale. Still 1-1 with Whitehill Welfare and Greenock Juniors. I wonder what the standard of Whitehill Welfare is like, because they were obviously in the Lowland League a couple of seasons ago, but South of Scotland's no the best.
I haven't heard much about them, so I can't imagine they'd be doing much.
Do you remember they played Celtic in the 90s?
I remember.
The Scottish Cup, and it was 4-0 to Celtic. Harry Kent, with his second of the game, makes it 6-0 for Cumbernauld. Kenaway Star are now 2-1 up against Eglinton, and Renfrew are now 3-0 up against Kello Rovers. Berwick Rangers are 2-1 down at Preston Athletic. Even that in itself, Preston Athletic beating Berwick Rangers, just shows where these teams are.
No, it does. It definitely does, and it should be, as I said earlier, it should be encouraged. Teams that want to go and achieve and want to progress should be encouraged and cultivated rather than fought against.
Definitely. Just before we finish up for the break, it is now 2-1 to Largs, and David Ramsey with his second goal against Craig Mart. So that is 59 and 67 minutes. He scored his goal there. We'll be right back after the break. Cheers. Welcome back to Saturday Football Live with myself, PG, and my good man, Jonny Bailey, the two all bearded, beautiful men. That's exactly what we are. We're going to have a wee chat about the Scottish Cup. One in particular which really sticks out is, obviously for us, being west of Scotland and Lowland League driven, Jonny, Talbot at home to Cumnock, first ever televised game between the two sides. No, we're talking about how the Talbot are just so dominant, and in terms of I can't see by the Talbot winning that game either. But how important do you think this is for our level, having games like this on the TV?
Do you know what I hope, and I mean this and with the best will in the world, I just hope everybody behaves. You know, I just hope that, because we've seen it in the past, we've seen the horses in the park, and
that was the first game after I left.
Was it?
I remember
they were raging. They were obviously raging. They had a protest because PG had left.
Was that? They just couldn't take it.
But I just hope everybody behaves. We've seen it all in the past. We know the rivalry's fierce. It's great. It's great for this level. I've grown up with it, you know, being around it and stuff. I just hope everybody kind of puts on a great spectacle for our level and shows it up for what it can be, which is good quality football, competitive, high energy, high intensity.
Remember that the Cumnock dressing rooms are obviously up the kind of top floor at the park, and I remember my first ever Cumnock Talbot derby, and we get delayed. We weren't allowed to leave the stadium for an hour till after the game because the young teams were fighting outside the park, and we were literally just sitting in the dressing room looking at the window watching a big rammy happening again. Touch wood, that doesn't happen. We don't want it to happen, but we're at level. This is great.
It's brilliant. It's on the telly. Like, it's superb. When we saw the draw get made, I think everybody said we weren't sure if that was they put games on the telly this early, if that makes sense. So it was great that the BBC's decided to take the decision to put the game on the telly. And it was a no-brainer. It's a standout tie.
It definitely is. And all teams have shown. I mean, you go back to the biggest cup shock ever. Darvel beating Aberdeen. I was fortunate enough to be there that night, and you kinda knew it was coming that night. I thought it was just a feeling that was going to happen, and it was incredible. It was such an amazing night. Is there any other games in the Scottish Cup that stick out to you?
Well, for me, what a really interesting one is Carluke playing at home to Gretna 2008. Carluke's had an unbelievable start to the season, winning all their games so far, going really, really well. A really good result in the last round, and I think they might be able to do something against Gretna. I really do. Now Gretna are playing today. I can't remember who their Gretna's playing today, but they're playing New Mains. That's right. So that'll give us a good gauge as to how that game goes. New Mains aren't the best at updating their social media, to be honest. But that'll give us a good gauge going into that. But I don't know. I think if you're looking somewhere for a wee upset, then I think that Carluke could possibly do something against Gretna in the Lowland League.
I think you could be right. I think Carluke...
It's at home as well.
And you know, it's like confidence is so high with Carluke just now. Where confidence will be really low with Gretna. I mean, they're sitting second, bottom of the league, or bottom of the league potentially. It's them and he's still in there having a fight to see who can be the worst team in the league. Gretna sitting bottom. 10 games played, 1 win, 1 draw, 8 defeats. 18 scored, 16 scored, that's all my It's terrible.
Yep.
And 32 conceded. So they're averaging over 3 goals a game conceded. I think Carluke could, up at John Cunningham Stadium, they could definitely cause them some issues.
Especially with the wind machines on, which it normally is up there, up the top of that hill of a cracker. But I know hopefully they get a good crowd up there as well and can get into the next round, because how good would that be? A fourth division side make it into the second round of Senior Scottish.
I know.
Be a great achievement for them. And the money as well that would bring for them as well, going up. If they get promoted, then that would maybe allow them then to build again, going into the third division. So
it does show how far the levels come. And I still think that as much as I think I'm one of the biggest advocates for the fourth division. I love it. I love the fact that we've got new teams coming in. Still pretty amateurish in the setup and some of the way that some of them are. But the quality's getting better, and teams like Carluke who are actively trying to improve. And like you said, the financial rewards you can get for that. I don't know exactly what that is, but you get a certain amount of money for every round, even if you get knocked out. So I don't imagine Carluke are paying much money, if any at all. So see if you get 2 or 3 grand. I mean, that
makes a massive difference to a team like Carluke, and it makes a massive difference to any team in that kind of lower level. So fingers crossed they can do the business there. Another really big one for me that sticks out is Johnston Borough v Threave. You know, I think that could be.
Johnston Borough drawing at the
they're just taking the lead. They're just taking the lead. Yeah, well, they're 2-0 up. Sorry, now Max Kerr scored to make it 2-0. But I think for me that we've spoken about Threave umpteen times on the show. I saw them live when we played them during the week, and I was really impressed with them. Good footballing side, big physical side. The boys that they actually brought off the bench were like big boys. You know that way. Like you're bringing boys off the bench, and you're thinking, God, here we go. Do you know? So
and the thing is, you've got like your trainees, your officers, you're scoring every single.
You love officer, don't you?
Just score so many.
Is that because you're your job? Okay, let's 5-1 up. Sorry, just before we go back. So
fourth are 3-2 down now. They've pulled it back to 3-2. Brian Wilson's just scored for Kilwinning Rangers. That is now 1-1 with Kilwinning Rangers and Dunnipace. Nielsen having a real good fight here against Newton Grange Stars. 1 each in that game as well. After the last couple of weeks have been really disappointing for Nielsen, so that's it's a really good performance because Newton are a good side at least.
I definitely, but we know Nielsen's not an easy place to go. They've had a really positive start to the season after getting promoted last year. They had a disappointing result last week. They lost 6-0 to Villa Clyde, 5-0, 6-0 to Villa Clyde. So they would have been disappointed with that. And again, I spoke about it on Monday on the show. If anybody was watching, I seemed to use the phrase "bounce back" about 1 million times, and I was getting a bit sick of hearing it myself. But Nielsen have showed it today, Glenafton have showed it today. You know, it is so important at this level. You have a bad result, your reaction is everything, because one can lead to 2, can lead to 3. Before you know it, you're 5 games without a win on the back of just one bad result. So really important.
Losing becomes a habit as well. We've been there. You've been in teams where you're winning all the time, and you know late on the game you could be a goal down or you could be drawing. You'd be like, we're going to go and get something here. But
and you look at Bells Hill last week. Like, again, they've such a good season last season. Such a good season so far. They lose last week to Bonneton. How did they bounce back then to make sure that they don't lose that grip at the top? I mean, I think they're still 5 or 6 points clear, but these things can happen. We've seen it so many times.
You end up with Bonneton 2-0 down at half time against Clydebank Rangers, so a team who are really struggling. I appreciate new management and stuff coming in, but a team that are really struggling.
PG, I said about Bonneton on the show on Monday, and I was having some comments on the YouTube channel, which was great, about the fact that they haven't played at home this season because of the work getting done to their park. Mm-hmm. But I stick by it. Bonneton are a team that could, on their day, can beat anybody, but on their day can lose to anybody as well. And once they iron that out, then I think they'll be a real contender because they've got good players.
They do. It's funny, like Bonneton obviously started when we had the change of setup and it became the West of Scotland. Having been the level they were at, came straight in the Premier League, battled most weeks in the Premier League, went down in the first division. They've now found their level in the second division, and because they are so inconsistent.
But there's the thing about that though, PG, as well. See, when you're getting beat every week in the Premier Division, there's no an opportunity to build. Whereas they've had a couple of seasons or 2 seasons in the second division, which has allowed them then to build. And in the summer, they've made a clear effort in my eyes to go and get better players, because the players they brought in Jason Walker, who was at Auchinleck. So they brought him from a level above, or Whitlet, sorry, they brought him from a level above. They brought in Ryan Nisbet as well, who was at a level above. You know, so they've targeted these players that are playing at higher level to come and push them up. And they probably wouldn't have been able to go and get those players if they hadn't fallen down, because they're losing every week. And trying to attract players to a team that's losing every week is difficult.
It definitely is. We've got a goal for Cumbernauld Colts. They've gone 1-0 up against Dalkeith. But we're going to move on to the Premier League and talk about it. And we've gone through at length how we're running a superlative.
I don't want to talk about them anymore.
We're running superlatives for them, right? But now, whenever we look at the bottom end of the table, club for me who I really thought would struggle this year because of changing manager, and again, this isn't a Gary Muir thing. St Cadoc's obviously had cut their cloth to suit with the budget as well. They've got 1 win, 1 draw, and 5 defeats. Almost got 5 goals in 7 games, conceding 18 with 4 points. Then you look at just above them, you've got Pollock, 2 wins, 5 defeats, scored 6, conceded 13. And then you've got Beath and Shotts just above them again, all on 6 points. St Cadoc's on 4. Now, we've spoken at length, and I know you have in your show as well, about the fact that there's breathing space for teams because there's only there's no any relegation. But do clubs they allocate Renfrew, who I think are having a great season, sitting in 8th place just now, right? With 2 wins, 2 draws, and 3 defeats. Tremendous season. But see if Renfrew were sitting in St Cadoc's position, I think the Renfrew committee give Jimmy Quigley time all day, every day, because they ended up getting. I think they were a bit surprised when they went up, and he's having a great job. But do we only make excuses for everybody? And there's no relegation. The clubs look at that and say, "Do you know what? That's Pollock for talking to, since they're such a big club. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. We are not a club who are willing to sit second bottom of the league." What do you think about that?
I think it's difficult. I think it depends what the committee's expectations were. Now, for me, regardless of what's happened over the summer, a club like Pollock should still be aiming for that top 8 spot, definitely, as a minimum, just with the size of the club and the setup that the club's got. So they should be aiming for that as a minimum. So they'll be disappointed. But then on the flip side of that, we know Max has done a great job, a good job there over the last couple of years. So I think because there's no relegation, there's never any consideration of do we make a change, you know? So because of that, but what it does do, I suppose, the only thing is it maybe makes your reign a bit shorter next year.
Aye.
You know, in terms of
That puts a bit of added pressure on if you
know, because you know you've not had a great season this year. If you start next season the same, because it can become as you said, it can become a rut. You know, and I think St Cadoc's are the same. You look at St Cadoc's lineup. There's no way that team should be bottom of the league.
No, I know.
You know, with the players that they've got.
4 points for 7 games.
You know,
is it acceptable?
You know, like not looking at that squad. I would say no. I mean, you're looking at a lineup today. Guys like Jamie Wilson, Ryan Lockie, wee Fergie and stuff like that there as well. Max Curry and nets. You know, Richie McKillen. You know that's not a team that should be sitting bottom of the league.
But is that on the flip side? If I'm playing devil's advocate, is that testament to how strong the Premier League is? I actually think the Premier League's a bit weaker this year than it was last year, but it's a testament to how good the other teams are in the league.
I think Renfrew, Coinning and Rutherglen have probably come in with no fear because they know they'll have a different mindset because of the no relegation thing. So they're not worried about getting beat because it doesn't matter. No, I'm not saying that they then don't care if they get beat, right? But they've got no fear, so they just come in and play. Like I always remember when I was in the studio a few weeks ago and you spoke to Jimmy and we asked him about the season and he said, well, do you want to find out who can play at this level? And see if you're getting into that mind, like just go and play. So it shows you can do it. If you can do it, great, we'll build next year. If you can't, then we'll move you on and we'll get somebody else. You know, so I think these three teams, the reason that they've all started so well is because they'll have come in with no fear.
Aye. And I think that
because you're always worried, we're newly promoted, we don't want to go straight back down. We need to start well. Everybody gets a bit nervous and a bit antsy.
You don't have that, and I think that, like I touched on Renfrew, I think that obviously, I think Arthur are in that position as well. With Willie Dyer just coming in, you've obviously spoken about Glenn Kinnick winning. Yeah, apologies, folks, if the sound level raises a bit. It's half time, so you guys are coming in for their beers and their pies. But I think that Renfrew in 8th, Arthur in 10th, 9th and 11th, winning 12. That's your 4 promoted teams.
I know, but see, even
comfortable in a sense.
See on that though, I mean, you're looking from bottom to 8. There's only 4 points separate the whole bottom half of the table. Do you know what I mean? So, like, and even if you take St Cadoc, so Pollock in 15th to Renfrew in 8th is 2 points. You win one game, you can find yourself up in 7th. You know, or 8th. So
that's the thing, too. Again, it's all plus and maybes, but 3-4 wins for St Cadoc's, and a month's time we're having a completely different conversation.
And they've got a good enough squad to do that. But yeah, I said that about Gartcairn last year, and they kept losing games.
And it's when you're in that rut. For me, obviously, the big talking point is you're really looking at Pollock. But before we go into talking about Pollock, 7-0, Harry Kent is his third of the game, 7-0 for Cumbernauld. Renfrew now 4-0 up against Quello. 4-0 for Johnstonburg against Armstrong Rangers. They're really motoring on.
That was 0-0 at half time, wasn't it? So
real good set.
Whatever Murdy said to them at half time has obviously done the trick.
3-1 for Glencairn against Thorneywood. Cowdenbeath are now 3-0 up against Blackburn United. Looks like that game's over. So winning after being 1 down, are now 2-1 up with 4 minutes left. The 90. Molly Smith passes the ball into the empty net there.
Where was the goalie?
Where was the goalie from? Kilsyth Athletic have just put a goal back there, so that is 1-1 in their match. And Largs now look like they've got the game sealed. Corey Hughes with the goal makes it Craig Mark 1, Largs 3. And Jack McClare has just made it 8-0 for Cumbernauld.
I just want to see all the teams in our level win.
I know.
It was the same in the last round of the Senior Scottish. I think there was only two teams from our level get put out the Senior Scottish, which was Rutherglen, who lost to Newton Grange, Haddington, one of those kind of teams over from the east, and then Girvan lost to Bonneton. Those were the only 2 sides from the west of Scotland that went out.
Girvan Bonneton had to be one of them.
Aye, of course.
And Del McNabb with the goal for Nielsen. They're 2-1 up against Newton Grange Star. Really important goal there. Glencairn have now made it 4-1 against Thorneywood, so quite convincing finish. Irvin Bix have pulled it back with Sam Truesdale, 2-2 at the Burnt Islands. So moving back on to Pollock.
Well, when I had Josh in the show, and I asked him that question, I said to him, "What's the plans like this year, kind of thing?" And he made the case that he made the point that they should be aiming for that top 8 spot, and I agree with him, because that's the way that's where the club like that should be. But I do think there's got to be a recognition of what's happened in terms of turnover and circumstance and all that kind of thing. So maybe you look at it and you go, right, well, we've maybe not done well this year, but we expect to see some improvements next year, depending on where they end up. I don't know if you caught Max's interview after the game last week. Do you know when you watch something and before he's even said anything, you know how he feels?
You can see.
Max he doesn't hide it well.
You can see what Max. Like, don't get me wrong, Max is. What I would say about him, you see, when we've ever had him on anything, he is always very honest, which is something I really, for us doing this, is something we appreciate. He's always very honest. He doesn't hide behind too much, and he's been very open and honest about the financial situation. Which, let's not pretend that doesn't have a big impact on it. When you're looking at a couple of years ago, the budget was maybe 3-4 times what it is now, which is massive. Last season, Pollock finished 10th, so they only won a third of their league games last season.
9th, your eyesight is.
My eyesight. I was looking at the wins they had. My eyesight is terrible. That's getting worse. They won 10 out of 30 games, right? This season, they're looking like they're averaging 1 1/3 of their games at this spell as well. How long do the Pollock fans accept it? Because I think Pollock fans are maybe not always completely realistic on where the club is at the moment.
Well, that's it.
So used to this.
And I was just going to ask you the same question. Do we need to have a readjustment into what we think of Pollock?
Aye, maybe. It's hard, particularly
because we still hold them up. I still hold them up in the highest regard because that's what they were.
I look at 2006 when I started playing junior football. Pollock, not the Talbot, Pollock were the main team. Couldn't win the Scottish Cup, but they were the main team, winning multiple league titles. I remember being fortunate enough to play against that great Pollock team at Linlithgow, and it was just so difficult. But you're maybe right, we maybe need to reassess what we think is acceptable for Pollock, and maybe that.
And maybe the committee do as well, and the fans. No, I know that's difficult for fans. We see it all around the country. You see teams that have had glory days, throughout the country that then fall away a wee bit, and you need to recognise that that's just not going to be the way it is anymore.
Because I'm in no way saying I think that Max should not be the Pollock manager. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
I think he would, if he heard this, would appreciate the point I'm making is for Pollock, what they're getting is not good enough. But like you've said perfectly, you maybe need to reassess what's targets for Pollock now, because it's not the same. Because you even look at Beath, 2 league titles in the last 4 years, but now Beath are a team who are a bottom half of the league team. They're in a rebuilding process, similar to St Cadoc's. They've got enough quality in that squad that they could go and win 3, 4, 5 games, but it's probably not going to happen just now. But I feel like their fan base, from what I've seen, are more accepting of readjusting where they think they should be right now.
But you'll always be a bit more accommodating when you've won 2 league titles back to back in the last 5 years.
Do you think so? Do you think you may be more disappointed with the fact that you've been 2 league titles and then you're now up in a normal season, trying to avoid relegation?
It's a fair point. I mean, it's a fair point, but what I would say, and again, I don't mean this in a disparaging way at all, but I think when Chris Strain was a manager, they were probably a middle of the table club, but he managed to get the absolute most out of them to 2 league titles. I think it's probably not spoken enough just how good a job that was to get them to win back-to-back league titles, because they were a good side. But they probably weren't on paper a league winning side, and for them to win back-to-back is an incredible managerial achievement.
And that's testament to me for Straney being the managers. But look, we're actually going to take a break a bit early. As you can hear, the raffle's just about to be called out, so we'll just take a wee break just now, right? We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. Stick with us, we'll wait till the raffle's done, and we'll be right back. Cheers. Welcome back to Saturday Football Live. It's the first time we've ever had to go to a break because the raffle was getting done. So if any of you said Orange P633, congratulations. I don't know you've won, but you've won the raffle, so well done.
I know, we didn't even win as well.
I know. Well, actually, a couple of Clydebank fans were just talking to me there when you were away getting your tea, and they were saying they thought the two of us would have been smaller than we were.
Do you know I get that in my work quite a lot, because everything's done on Teams nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, I must have a small stature on screen.
What height are you?
6'3".
You're 6'3", I'm 6'2". So there you go. Well, really, we should just sit there.
I know, a bit of posture. I've got a bad back though. I was talking to a couple of guys from Clydebank over there. They were saying that first half year's been pretty even. They had Linlithgow one off the line, and Clydebank had a chance as well. But pretty even. Both teams try to play football, which we knew, which we expected, but fairly even so far. Good game of football.
It would have been good if we could have got it in the telly behind us. And
the Clydebank don't normally stream their games. I know they would know it for here, but
you're not allowed to do. So I think it's only.
We could have got the live VO feed, surely.
I know, that's been good.
Here, do you know I passed by the playing fields on the way up here, and there was like an under 10s or something. They still were using the wee 9-a-side goals, and they had a VO at the side of the park.
Is that necessary?
Absolutely not.
I mean,
let the kids play, enjoy themselves, man. Come on.
Do you know the funny thing? Because you get some amateur teams that VOs now, right? And do you know, I don't think it's necessarily for tactical reasons. I think boys just want to watch themselves.
Aye, they just want to put on their social medias about the goal they scored, or do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So.
I work in my job. I work with a school, and I get some of the boys, some of the 6-years coming up to me. Wow, oh, look at this, and they show me their goals on TikTok for the weekend, and I'm like, they're playing with like Benburn under 16s, and you're here. Why have you just got a deal?
Do you know the most frustrating thing as well? Sorry, but Tangent City today. See when boys retweet the tweet for the clubs saying that they've scored a goal.
Oh no, noticed that.
No, so they'll go back through the tweets of the game, and then there's a tweet saying Paul Gordon's goal. Paul Gordon scores for.
And then retweet
St Anthony's. They'll retweet it to show that they scored a goal. But yeah, they get beat 4-1. You know, like. Bit of self-awareness, trips. But I'm an old dinosaur, so.
Well, Tracy, thanks very much for your comment there. Check the raffle tickets. You are enjoying.
I know.
Also got Tony Andrew. Knightswood win 2-1. Great result for Knightswood. Again,
brilliant.
I don't know. It's obviously, it can be false. We were kind of touching on it earlier when you're talking about playing against lower league teams and friendlies and stuff like that, you're only hiding in that regardless. Or Gala, are they finding that, because they were one of the bottom teams last year, do they just have a good start? They're finding they're revert back to type? Because Knightswood are obviously a good side who will go up through the leagues, in my opinion.
For me, it's the. I prefer to look at the positives and say it's an excellent reflection of the strength of the region.
I think so.
You know, that's the way I look at it. I feel that there's plenty of teams and we'll see it next year with the amalgamation of the lower league, etc. I think there's excellent teams that can go and compete with your likes of Gretna, Gallifreydine, you know, that kind of thing. So congratulations to Michael and the guys at Knightswood, because they would probably have been underdogs in the bookies line, I would say, today, going to playing at home at a lower league side. So, but we stuck with them. Well, I did.
I'm sorry, mate. Sorry about that. I'm really glad. I used to live in Knightswood as well, so I want them to do well. Comment coming up for Lee Bamford, one of our members on the channel, so thanks for that, Lee. Maxie did really well with Rob Roy with no budget. I think that's why he's been attracted to Paul, but I'm not sure if Paul has been fully honest with him about the financial situation. What I would say from my knowledge of the situation is, Lee, that Paul's committee changed, and I don't think they were completely aware of the financial situation. So I don't think that, I could be wrong, I don't think that Maxie was led blind by the committee that's there. So I think it was the previous committee probably weren't transparent enough, and that's where the issues. Like, again, I don't know how true this is, but so West Point's the big sponsor. So West Point, the builders, the big sponsor. I had heard that West Point only provided, I think it was 2 strips to Pollock and had their name everywhere. And you're like, see when you've got a club who get upwards of 600-700 at games every week, That's not good enough
Those
sponsorship.
2 strips cost you about £1,400, £700 a strip.
That's not good enough sponsorship for a club who are drawing in that amount of.
Like say, we're annoying football managers, now we're annoying building companies.
You Southside, West Point boys. Better.
But see, for me, I don't think Maxie would. Maybe he would have. I don't know, right? I don't know him. You know him. I know him to say hello to, but I don't know him as well as you do. Do you think he would have took that job if he knew it was going to be similar circumstances to what he was working under at Rob Roy? Do you? Right, fair dues.
The name of Pollock.
Just the name? Aye.
And I said this last year. At the end of the season, I said that I thought Maxie probably should have walked away from Pollock this season, but probably wouldn't do it because he won't get a bigger job. And I don't mean that to him. I mean that at our level on paper, Pollock's about as big as you get. Now, he's been dealt a bad hand in my eyes. Rob Roy did really well with the circumstances at Rob Roy, but again, you knew what you were fighting with, and they obviously had a really good season setting the league when Moff was assistant manager there, and then he's moved on. But I just think that Lee, to answer the question, I think he was misled by a former committee when he took the role, not necessarily by this committee. I think that's more of the issue that he faced there. But we're looking, Maryhill having a great day. 7-1, they've beaten Abbey Vale. 7-1 there. Gretna New Mains 0-0 at half time. So that's at Gretna as well. So that's a really good display for New Mains, who, as you've touched on, they're not like a Knightswood who were in the 4th division, but were better than the 4th division. They're a team who are a middle of the table, 4th division side. Can win some games or lose some games, but to me, that shows how weak the Gretna are as well. The Northwest are now 2-0 up against Kirkintilloch at Rob Roy, a team who are also not having a great season. 2 seasons in a row now.
I'm surprised at that.
Aye, I would have thought it would have been better.
See, especially with how they finished last season, because they signed some players last season. They went on a good run, got them so safe, fairly comfortably. I thought they were going to kick on this season. I really did.
It's just no materialised. 3-1 to Kilwinning. Mark Lamont with a goal there against Jonny Pace in the 88th minute from the penalty spot. We're looking like we have a repeat of the Talbot Troon game. I see just marking your jot there. Troon 2.
My jot. And
your jot.
Give a wallpaper on the front of it.
No, I tell you what, that's a generational thing.
Yeah, I know.
Why did you put wallpaper on you? Why did we do that? I don't say keep it good, but wallpaper. Now, did you? Obviously, your mum would have been the one that put it on, right?
No.
Was it your dad?
No, it was my mum, obviously. No.
My mum used to put it on and turn the wallpaper inside out, so it was like a cream.
Oh,
and it used to just get dirty all the time. I don't know whether Kate was playing it.
My mum would love to do all that. I'm the least handiest person in the world, and it's my dad's fault.
Aye,
because he never showed me.
I'm the same. I don't think my dad knew how to. We've just got a new member. Ross McClatchy has been a great participant in the show today. He's just signed on to be a new member for the show. So if you want to support us, I'm not going to lie to you, right? You don't get really much for being a new member. We'll be the odd episode we'll put out for you before our general viewers. But it's really just, it costs a reasonable amount of money to run this. And it really, any help that you guys can provide is greatly appreciated. So it's a begging bowl one. But thank you very much, Ross, for that as well.
That's weird that the Troon and Talbot one is exactly the same result as it was last time when they played.
I know, quite strange. Shotsborn at 4, East House, Lily 0. Good result there. A result we probably expected, but a good result there. Eglinton now 3-1 down. That's Kennedy have extended the lead to 3-1. Baylor Clyde 2-1 up against Forsyth Athletic there. And Ardea, it's 1-0 to Clydebank. We've just had that from inside the clubhouse. 1-0 to Clydebank. That's a great. Any idea who the scorer is? No yet. Okay, so 1-0.
Mark Hailstones.
Mark. Do we know?
Stevie Dallas.
Stevie Dallas. I remember that. That was my generation. That was my. Now, if you could find it, that'd be great for us. Thanks. Medder scored that. Oh, Lee Gallagher with a goal. Des will be happy with that. It's Lee's his love child, I think.
See the parts right there. What they doing standing in here telling us about the game?
You're missing the game.
You know the game's on just go through that door and the game's there.
We're going straight to penalties for Kilburn and Cali Locals 1-1 there.
You got any? Villa Clyde 6-1 up. That's 6 goals in back-to-back weeks for Villa Clyde. Or the 6-1 down.
No, they should. That can't be right.
Is it not right? Some of the typo.
It must be a typo because they were 2-1 up. They were 2-1 up like a minute ago.
No, look, 69 minutes, 5-1.
Oh, well, there you go. Then I'm looking at all stuff. Full time at Whitlets, it's 3-2 to Arthurley. Full time at Ardere, 3-1 to Ardere against Carluke. Does that have an impact on Carluke?
What was the score? Sorry?
3-1 to Ardere against Carluke.
Nah, because they're playing a team against higher level and stuff. They've got another week, so I'd imagine. I don't know what's on next week. I know it's cup season. I don't know what's on next week for them.
8 when it's cup season.
I don't know what's on for them next week, but I wouldn't think so. They go. It's like one of those old things. You go to a higher level team, you get beat. You chalk it up and you move on.
Jojo Gillespie with the goal for the Meda against Cumberland. Consolation, but great free kick for Jojo Gillespie. We go to penalties and Villa leaving and fourth were able to get a late equaliser, so that's 3-3 in that game. So 4-0 to Cowdenbeath against Blackburn United. Cali Braves 3-0 up against Hart Hill. I think the Hart Hill badge looks really like a Chelsea badge.
Aye. Cowdenbeath played Benburn in the senior Scottish as well. That'll be
quite interesting. I'd be expecting a
Cowdenbeath
win there, surely. As we touched, so you're right. So that's been quick goals. 8 minutes ago, 68th minute, 4-1 Villa Clyde. Then the 69th minute, 5-1 Villa Clyde.
Well, John will be in a good mood tomorrow night then.
Cowdenbeath now 5-0 up.
So
6-1 Villa Clyde. Thank you very much. Cheers.
John's on tomorrow night with me, so that'll be him. He'll be in a good mood. And he's got a wee surprise night away with his missus tonight, so he'll be in even better mood. Hopefully he's not too tired.
I'll tell you what, John's a big fan of yours today, Phil. Big fan of yours.
I'm a big fan of his.
I think he prepares your show to yours.
Well, he's busy though, to be fair, when you're doing yours.
He is.
You know,
he's too busy winning games, but 4 and 5 goal man.
I know, that's what, 6-0 last week, 6-1 this week.
So that was 3 goals in 7 minutes.
Brilliant.
So there we have confirmation on Twitter. After good work from Samson down the left, Lee Gallagher is on hand to convert from close range. So 1-0 the 48th.
So now Linlithgow have got to score against a team that have only conceded 1 goal away from home.
But
they've scored 19. So
how good they are and what they've got. It's funny where we're literally, the game is happening right there and we have no idea what's going on in terms, we're having to get fans telling us what's happening. It's strange, but hell, it's good. Well, we're going to move on to the first division in the West of Scotland. Not really touched on it much today. We obviously have Gart Cairn, who under Ryan McStay and Darren Barr and my good friend Dak are having a real good season. But for me, the surprise package has been St Rock's.
Are they a surprise though? Because they did really well last year.
I'd say, considering they've won 6 out of 6, 20 goals, 7 conceded, I expected them to get promoted in the top 8, but I did not expect them to be starting the season so well. When you look at last season, they finished 5th place, winning 16, drawing 4 and losing 10. So they only missed out promotion by 3 points. After ultimately, they're only about 8 points back, so it was a reasonable season. I didn't expect to start the season with it.
I probably did.
Really?
Just because of how well they did. I thought they were more of a surprise last season than they are this season.
Aye.
So maybe I didn't expect them to be 6 wins for 6. Right, that's exceptional start to the season. But I definitely expect them to be, given what they did last year, I expect them, when you looked at the league, I know you're going to tell me when we did a prediction show that I didn't even have them in the top 8, but I definitely, looking at them, one. But do you know what they are? They're a team I forget about a lot.
Aye.
And I know that's probably unfair, and it's probably, as we say all the time, we've got 80 teams to talk about. We can't focus on them all. And yes, we do tend to sometimes we focus a lot on the ones that we've got relationships with managers, or they update their social media regularly. So they're probably one that's maybe went a wee bit under the radar. But in terms of where they were last season, I expected them to be challenged at the top end.
I thought I put them in to get promoted. top 5 for me.
I must have. I surely did.
Aye, you've got it.
Aye.
They wouldn't have been.
I'm not that much a Rangers fan that I would have knocked them down.
I'm really impressed though. I think that seeing this league, do you know what? Something's a bit different. We always talk about this league being so hard to get out of. I think it's different this season. Taking away the top 8, right? But Gartcairn have won 6 out of 7, drawn 1. The Rock have won 6 out of 6. The Meadow have won 5 out of 6. You don't get that very often in this league where teams look like they're going to run away. But I think the Meadow will find it a bit harder. They look like they're on a wee bit of a dip in terms of results recently, despite maybe playing higher league opposition and stuff. But I think that it's going to be a wee bit harder for them than I think we'd anticipated after the first 2 or 3 games.
I think a lot, and we don't know this in that situation, so I'm not speculating at all, but how much of an impact Jamie maybe not being there has as well.
It could be big.
You know, because from everybody I speak to that works with Jamie, including people that are working with him right now, are incredibly impressed with him and the way he goes about his business and the way he organises the team and how focused he is on the details, etc. So that can have a big impact. You know, it can have a real big impact if he's not there. Obviously through no fault of his own, and we hope that he gets well soon, recovers soon. But hopefully that doesn't go on and on. You know, because it does have a big impact. You know, I even saw it when I watched him pre-season against Troon. He's like organising and dictating and kind of things like that. You know, so. But I think from where they were last season to be sitting where they are now after 6 games, I think they'll be delighted.
Aye, definitely. I mean, with this way they're going, promotion seems like a given.
They're going the right way, you know.
Is there anybody in the league who have, we got a surprise package? Because I can give you mine. Ardrossan for me. I thought that they underperformed last year, but then it made me think, is that where they are in that first division? Maybe a bit of a step up. But sitting 5th in the league, they've had a pretty solid start to the campaign.
No, they haven't. I actually spoke to Gavin Friels at one of our pre-season games. His son is actually playing with us at Maybole, and I had a good chat with Gavin, and he was really confident going into the season because with the signing, he was really, really pleased with the signings they made, and he expected them to be challenging and be at the top end of the table. So I think they should. They're a club on the up in terms of their infrastructure and the way that they're set up. So I think they just needed to get it right on the park.
Have you been down to the?
Not yet.
The new Astro?
Not yet.
So my daughter played in a tournament there during the closed season, and it's decent because I always liked the pitch down at Ardrossan. I always thought it was a good surface, but they seem to have invested well in it, and it looks like a good setup. Muirkirk for me have been a surprise.
Muirkirk are the surprise for me, and just because again newly promoted. But again, you look how tight it is. So you go to Muirkirk in 6th, down to Cumbernauld in 13th. You know, there's 3 points.
Benburn in 14th.
I know. There's 4 points between them all. You know, but again, Muirkirk's maybe a wee bit what we were speaking about with the promoted teams in the Premier League. That young team just with no fear. You know, just go and play and see what happens. And
I mean,
they've caught a few in the hop. So, but they're sitting in 6th. They've only won 2 games out of 8.
But they lost 2 as well.
I know. But it just shows you how tight it is.
And I think that that's kind of. I suppose I'll go back to what I was saying a minute ago there about normally it's so tight through the whole league that there looks like there could be a bit of gap between the top 3 this season and the rest. Whereas with the rest of them, it's so tight. This top 8 getting up, I mean, you are looking at, for me, Lanark won't work.
No.
I just think that they've had too much change in the last season. Whitlets, who have really disappointed me, to be honest, they look like unless they can get their finger out, they're going to struggle. Benburn potentially could go up, even though I never tipped them to go up. They could be, but you're looking at Benburn, Cumbernauld, Rob Roy, Darvel, Petershill, Kilburney, Nielsen, Vale of Clyde, Muirkirk. They're all going to be fighting to get that 6th, 7th and 8th place for me, and that makes it so interesting. What do we expect for Benburn though? Do you think?
I never really expected much this season, to be honest. I thought when I watched them towards the end of last season against Darvel, I wasn't impressed with them, to be honest. It was I just wasn't impressed with them. I just didn't think they offered much on that particular day, and I would have expected to have seen kind of wholesale changes in the summer, and now maybe that will happen with the new management team. They'll maybe bring in some new players, but it's easier said than done when you're sitting the end of September to try and get boys in. So they might pick up a wee bit, but I wasn't expecting much for them. I was expecting them to be probably round about that kind of 8th, 9th, 10th, like maybe with a chance of getting into the 8, but not comfortably in it.
It's just not good enough for Benburb, is it?
Probably not. But I don't really view Benburb as like a
club.
big club.
I'd say they were punching above their weight, being in the Premier League consistently.
Aye.
Cali Locals have lost to Kilburn side 3-2 on penalties. Quite an interesting game. That's a good start for the management team, despite losing. It's a really good start for them. 7-1 to Vale Clyde now.
Wow.
7-1 there.
Who are they playing?
Do you know? I'm not even sure.
Put it on your social media. If you're listening to Vale Clyde social media, buddy, stick it on your social media. Who you're playing?
2-1 down to Dundonald. 2-1 down that game there. Port Glasgow lost 4-2 to Civil Service Strollers. It's not the worst result in the world. 4-1 Rutherglen have beaten Thornywood. Could be 7-0 up against Blackburn United. Leighton, Jordan Leighton with a goal there, pulls it right back for Pollock. 2-2, 4 minutes remaining in that game there. Closide Athletic.
Closide Rangers, that's right.
Closide Athletic.
Closide Athletic, sorry.
Closide Rangers are beating Bonington.
Aye, sorry.
Blackburn United. I'll tell you my story for playing Blackburn United. I Penenka a penalty against them in the Scottish Cup with Mary Hill. Final penalty to go through to the next round. And I scored it. I chipped it. Keeper went down onto one knee, handed it up in the air, and it went between his hand and the bar. And I absolutely bottled it when I thought he was going to save it. But I thought Brian Herring would have absolutely killed me if I'd missed that penalty. We tried trying to beat Penenka. But moving on to the second division, you're looking at Bells Hill obviously had the tremendous start and then lost last week. But they're still in a really good position. It's good for me. Threave, they were a bit of a mixed bag last year, even though they ultimately got promoted, which we expected them to. This has been a really good start to the season for Threave. Undefeated, them and Blantyre only 2 undefeated teams in the league. That's a great start for them.
I spoke on a pod on Monday. I was saying it's unusual to have 2 undefeated teams in the league and none of them are top of the league. You know.
I think we might have
a goal or something. Either that somebody's hurt themselves, somebody's fell over and hurt their leg.
We'll find it.
So I thought that was really unusual. In fact, you've got 3 because you've got Les Mahago down there in 6th as well that are still undefeated. So you've got 3 undefeated teams and none of them are top of the league.
It's funny with Les Mahago playing against Royal Albert. We spoke about the connection that they obviously have there with Darryl and Connor being mates, both being Les Mahago amateur teams before. Both of them sitting with exactly the same start to the season as well.
I know, and it's just about turning those draws into wins, basically, for Les Mahago. I think Threave will be Bells Hill's closest challengers if Bells Hill keep going the way that they're going. But the impressive thing for Threave is they've only conceded 4 goals in 6 games.
I know.
You know, that's
scored 23.
I know. So I think Threave will definitely go up, but I think it'll be between them who's taking home the league title. But we'll see how Bells Hill bounce back after the loss last week.
Funny thing about football is you look at Thorn, who for me are having a good season. 4 wins, 3 draws, 1 defeat. A really solid season. Still a chance of winning the league if Bells Hill can fall off a wee bit. But Thorn were so comfortable in that 3rd division last year. Cruised to the league title. Threave really stuttered and stammered and just got themselves across the line the last couple of weeks. Funny how when they both move up a division, Threave seem to be the one that are more comfortable moving up. It's mad how that can work in football.
Aye. No, it is, and I feel like Threave Threave are probably set up to make that step up, I would say, probably. I feel like Threave have been ready for that step up for the last couple of years, probably. So they'll be looking to step up again to the newly revamped 1st division.
An interesting one for me is Cambuslang. So I was very critical of Cambuslang on the previous show, and Paul brought them up, and Paul said that he thought they would do well, and I shot them straight down, and it looked like I was going to have to eat humble pie.
Because they won the first 3.
I started the season, they won the first 3. but they've only won one game since, and that was against Kilsyth. And Kilsyth, for me, they've had obviously a complete overhaul this season with Bailey leaving, a lot of players leaving. So the new management team have had to completely overhaul that team. It looks like Cambuslang. I know they've played Les Mahago, Bree, and Belsill in 3 games.
And Blantyre, who are sitting third.
Blantyre, sorry. So 4 games in a row that they lost were the top 4 teams, 4 of the top teams.
Aye.
But see, if you want to have any chance of doing it, you've got to go and at least beat a couple of them. And
Aye.
it looks like the borderline reverse back to type after last season having such a bad season.
Mm-hmm. And I think last week's result was really important for them because we know Kilsyth with a relatively new squad, but I would imagine that Paul will have them aiming for the top 8, I would say, as a minimum. And right now they're on track to do that, competing for the top. When you lose games against all your rivals around about you, that's not going to stand you in good stead if you're trying to win the league. So I would say that's probably out of the question just now. But top 8 definitely.
Yeah. I look at.
I just think they've got enough going forward.
I think with this division, the top 8 you've got just now are going to be very close to being the 8 that go up in my eyes. I mean,
we've got a red card in the Clydebank game. That's what we're shouting at. Matt Niven's been shown a straight red card for violent conduct.
After me talking about Big Matt having to be on it.
Well, he is on it, but he's been on it too much.
He's off it.
I know. He's been on it too much because he's stuck hitting somebody or something. To be fair, because he's mad. He'd bend down to start hitting somebody, wouldn't he? So
you need to watch somebody that's run up and butt Matt in the belt. Maryhill 7-1 today. Mark looks like he's finally getting the team playing the way he wants. Had a good finish to the season last year after a shocking start. They're now looking like they're starting to put some wins together and be maybe the team that they were expecting to be.
Apart from last week.
No, 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
They lost to Green.
Sorry, they lost to Green and they won 5-3. Goals.
Aye.
They always seem to score a lot of goals, concede goals. But if you're scoring goals, then they're over 3 goals a game. Average there, second top goal scorers in the league. I suppose they went on that really good run and then they get that stutter against Green and then they've picked back up again. So, again, it's just about making sure that when you're on a good run, you have a bad result, you just bounce straight back.
Definitely. It's one of my many clubs that I played for. And it's good to see them doing well.
We've only got 35 minutes left. We'll not long enough to.
Bellshill, top of the league. That was one of my old clubs. Maryhill was one of my old clubs. That's the only ones in this league, to be fair, so it's only 2. And moving on to the 3rd division, which I think is probably the most interesting in terms of who will win the league.
So I went on record as saying that I would not be surprised if anybody apart from St Anthony's and Lugar get promoted. I wouldn't be surprised. I think all
for art as well. They're having quite a full start to the season. I was aimed at Toby. That was just a joke.
I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if any of those 14 teams that are left.
Aye.
I wouldn't be surprised if any of them, whatever 8 in some kind of way, goes up. I wouldn't be surprised because you're such a tight league.
You look at, for me, I'm probably going to take Kello and Glasgow United out of it, even though they're both only 4 points off top of the table. I don't think that either of them will have the staying power. But you look, you Port Glasgow 16 points, Torrai 16 points, Glasgow Uni 15, Craig Mark 14, Aldear 13, Knightswood 12. Any 6 of them can win that league for me.
Aye, definitely.
I think it's that tight.
It could go down to the wire like it has before, but I think talking about Glasgow United,
They're hitting a wee bit of form just now.
they have. I'm just looking at their fixtures here, so they've
They beat Easterhouse.
beat Easterhouse 3-2. But the results, they beat Fanat, Toby 4-1. They lost to Dorai, beat Girvan. For me, the argument with Glasgow United has always been the consistency, and then they'll randomly lose a game where you expect them to win. You know, and you think, what's going on here? And then they'll play the next week against somebody, and then they'll get beat again, and you're like, what is happening? You know, so. But they've picked up a wee bit, maybe got the mix right now, and we'll see what happens with them. But I would push back a wee bit with you and Kello. I think Kello are capable of getting into that top 8.
I just don't see Kello having enough. I think Kello will get promoted, but See, you're
Are you talking about winning the league?
I just don't think they'll have enough to win the league.
To challenge for the league?
Aye.
See, the thing is, look at the top of the table though. Just now, you know, like you're 4 points between 8th and 1st.
I know.
You know, so you couldn't really write any of those teams out, and everybody seems to be kind of beating each other.
Aye.
You know, for me, I would say I don't even know. Like, that's the thing. Like, you look at Glasgow Uni, started really well, but then they get battered 8-1 off Dorai, and then they get battered the last week 6-1 against.
Port Glasgow beat them 6-1.
Port Glasgow beat them 6-1. So when they lose, they lose big for some weird reason. So
Aye. Considering you look at Glasgow Uni, conceded 18-7, but have conceded 14-2.
aye.
Yeah, which is quite concerning in that sense that you're either so dominant or you're just completely battered. For me, I think that you've got to give a lot of credit to Dorai, who I know it was a bit of a funny one last week with with the Knightswood game where both came down to 9 men and it not been brilliant. But they managed to get a draw there, and that's a big draw. They beat Port Glasgow opening day of the season. They beat Glasgow Uni. So you're looking at those games. I mean, even beating Glasgow United 4-3, that's a good result considering like what you're expecting.
I think Dorai's just been slowly for the last couple of years, and then this is the season for them.
You look at in the league, their next games are there,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be a big one for them if they can if they can get something for Ardea.
Play Knightswood again.
In the cup.
Oh, is it
They
the cup?
play
Sorry.
Knightswood in the
Right.
cup. They've got a gimme next week against Fanart in the cup, so that just kidding. So that's a good result. That's a good one for them. One that's interesting is,
But do you know the concerning thing for me when you look at Dorai is 25th October, 29th of November, 28th of December. They're meant to be at home, and their park
is
atrocious through no fault of their own, but it's always off.
Aye.
You know, and you just hope that doesn't affect them.
Aye.
Where they get on the back end of this, and they're still in contention, and they're having to play 3 games a week to try and catch up.
I know they've tried because obviously,
And that's not saying that there's no other teams,
but you look at Port Glasgow won't have that
no
at home because they're on the
Knightswood won't.
Knightswood won't have that.
Ardeer's very rarely off.
See, to be fair, for my time at Craigmark, the committee did a great job
Aye.
with that park to keep it on most of the time as well. So you've got.
But Dorai's always one of the worst.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I remember years gone by at Melchworth, because they have this slight slope and then they've got the bottom end. I know they've tried to do a bit of work on it, but I remember this. I don't get me this is going back quite a while. I remember them going months and months without a home game just because the weather had been so bad. And
When I was still playing, they actually played games at Troon. When I was at Troon, Dorai played home games at Troon to get games on just because of the issue of the park. That was back when John Garrett was the manager and Hendo was there and stuff like that. But maybe I don't know if they've done any work. Maybe I'm sure Chris will get in touch with us and let us know if they've done any work at the park. I'll probably speak to Chris tomorrow about his game of the day and find out if they maybe it's something I'll ask him.
Wales Clyde 8-1 against Coast
John will be in a great mood.
8-1 night away. Then Donald 45 plus 3 in the second half. 93rd minute, 3-2 for Dundonald against Pollock full time. Then we've got a substitution in the Clydebank game as the Banks are trying to reshuffle. Nicky Little goes off for Owen Kerry, so a bit more defensive there. We're going to penalties for Greenock and Whitehill Welfare at 1-1 in that game. Cumbernauld Colts 2-0 up against Dalkeith. Preston Athletic have managed to hold off Berwick 2-1. They've beaten them, knocked them out. That's them through to the next round of the competition. But look, we're going to go to a quick break. So I know it's been a wee bit different today. We've no had our interviews like we do normally. We've no get manager interviews and stuff. We'll maybe look at see if we can sort something out to get some managers on for the last half hour. Any questions you've got for us, don't hesitate to get in touch with us on YouTube. Just fire away, and myself and Jonny are happy to answer them. If you get any Fanart related questions, we'll get Toby to answer them as well. And we'll be right back. We'll be right back after the break. Sorry, welcome back. We're looking at, hopefully, Kobe was telling us off camera, this is something we're looking to do more often, where we can bring people in. I'm glad Jonny's here, because I keep forgetting to put the mics back up. Something I've never done in the studios. But we're hoping this is something we can go to more grounds. So if there's clubs want to take us, we're happy to go, and we'll do the shows live for grounds, and it just gives it another dimension, and we'll be able to get interviews and stuff. It's something that, again, for us, this has never been done at our level, so we're trying to see how we can make it work. But I'm hoping
we're just trying to do new things, and bring some exposure and some coverage at this level that you don't get anywhere else. So that's the whole idea behind the channel and behind the venture. And we'll just try things, that we'll just try it. We'll try this and we'll see how it works. And I think it's worked pretty well. And we'll hopefully do more of it, because it's been great response for the clubs. They've been great, both managers coming up and talking to us and things like that. So I know it's been class. It's been good.
You don't get it anywhere else.
You don't.
But we'll continue there. Look, we're going to move on to the 4th division now. This season we've obviously spoken quite a bit about Carluke and the tremendous start that Carluke are having this season. Obviously losing today, but 7 wins for 7. East Kilbride Thistle look like they're starting to be a wee bit of a surprise package. No surprise, that's not true. We expected them to do well, but they had the slower start. They're really kicking on, and again that was another win for them today. After drawing with East Kilbride YM early on in the derby, a 3-3 game, which was really interesting. After being 3-0 up, then they've had a good wee spell. Despite losing to New Mains, have won the last 4 in the league, and then they're winning the cup today. They're really showing that they're going to be a team who are looking to go and challenge to try and win that league.
Aye, they've kind of sneaked up on me, to be honest, PG. I think my focus in the early part of the season was obviously on Carluke's great start. I was looking at Eglinton, kind of maybe overachieving. I expected Vale of Leaving and Irvine Victoria to do well, Royal Albert to do well. And I hadn't really considered East Kilbride Thistle, to be honest, but then just popped up there in second position, looking really good. And still a 5-point gap between them and Carluke, but again, we just I suppose it's different because we're just looking at that top 8 position, and then if you win the league, it's a bonus. But I think if they keep going the way they're going, then top 8 definitely.
I think it's an absolute given. I think that winning the league's a possibility, because whatever we look and see when East Kilbride are going to be playing Carluke. So they've got obviously the win today against St Cuthbert's, Giffnock in the cup next week. Then we're league action, Eglinton, tough game, Royal Albert, Irvine Vic's, Carluke. That's about as hard a run as you can get. I mean, you're literally looking at second and third when they play Eglinton.
If they're going to win the league, October's going to dictate it.
100%. Because you've got to go and beat Eglinton. You've got to go and beat Royal Albert, Irvine Vic's, Carluke. That's your ones. Then they've got a wee bit of a reprieve where they've got Rossvale, Saltcoats and BSC. BSC losing 3-2 to Penarton friendly today, but they've shown massive signs of improvement. Saltcoats are improving. Rossvale losing 3-0 to Jeanfield Swifts today. But they're having a real transitional period just now with Barry getting in there, and obviously Josh leaving last season, a lot of players leaving. They've only won 1 game at their first 7 in the league. So it is a bit of a transition for them.
And nobody really knows what the 4th division is going to look like next year.
Yeah, we don't know yet. I know that is a big part of that, is that we don't know.
I think I've heard that there's applications open for new teams that want to join the level.
I would say, in my eyes, it's almost a guarantee that 2 or 3 will come in. Whether or not.
Where? Who? Give me names.
I don't know, right?
Do you think St Patrick's will try again after?
I really hope they do, because even though they might not have because
I think they took it pretty hard when Knights were getting in front of them, didn't they?
And St Pat's are at amateur level, they're one of the best teams in the country. So they would really want to be getting themselves in. Whether or no they will, I don't know. People spoke about Castlemilk coming in. I don't know what their setup's like. I know they would probably be looking to use Berlear, which has just been recently done up. So it's a good facility they've got up there. Teams like that would maybe be looking to come in.
I've heard a wee rumour Ambank might be looking at coming back in as well.
Really? That would be great to have them back, because they've got a good amateur side there, don't they?
Aye, but that therein leads into my point, because they won the league last year. They're getting into the later stages, winning cups, winning leagues and stuff like that. do you want to then forego that to enter the 4th division of the West of Scotland and maybe kind of struggle at the bottom?
Do you think they would though?
I don't know if they would struggle, but you're going from being top of the tree and you're being the big fish in the pond to going to be the wee fish in the big pond. You know, so
I don't think many people expected Anbank to have been away for as long as they've been away.
I think because they've done so well, like they've kind of reinvented themselves as a community club, you know, and they've got a manager in there now at the amateur level who's managed to build a team of mainly local boys and made them successful. Mm-hmm. And like I said, they won the league last year. I know they've got ambitions this season to try and go as far, if not win the Scottish Cup, which I know is easier said than done. But it's just that it's interesting that I was actually talking to one of the players and that's what we were talking about, like giving up that opportunity to compete regularly and win trophies to come back into the West of Scotland. Like, but you've got to weigh up the pros and the cons. But I would like to see them back.
No, I would like to see them back as well because I assume they still play at
they do. Aye.
So
New Pebble Park.
I'd like to see them back as well, but I also think that they probably shouldn't be looking at bringing in 8 clubs.
No,
I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
We don't want to bring in teams just for the sake of bringing them in. They have to be right. They have to have infrastructure in place. They have to have a plan in place, you know, of development, etc. So I think they need to get it. I would rather them see them bring in less teams and get it right than bring in more teams. And to be honest, knowing the guys at the West of Scotland, the guys that are on the board, I think they would probably veer on that side.
I think that they maybe, when they were creating the 4th division, they maybe brought in too many teams who maybe weren't up to the level of what needed to be. But at the time, it had to be done to bring them in. And it's taken teams quite a while. I was part of the Knightswood setup. I helped really build the team that they had the first season. I think we managed to get 4th, our highest finish.
After last season.
It was last season. The last season.
Knightswood?
No, St Peter's.
You said Knightswood. You did say Knightswood.
Sorry, I meant St Peter's.
I know.
Sorry.
I was you know something? I was hoping you were right there because if we did get Michael on the phone, I couldn't wait to tell him that you helped build Knightswood. I was so excited to tell him, saying,
I looked at
Michael, just by the way, PG says he built Knightswood. How do you feel about that?
It's unbelievable for them, PG. With St Peter's, you look at them, I think they're in a transitional period. I think they thought it was going to be easier coming into the setup than it actually has been because there was talk of them getting an asset transfer for a place in Paisley to have their own stuff. And we've got a great youth club, but there seems to be, or there has been a bit of a gap between the first team and the club, which...
So let's see at the start, who all come in? It was West Park.
Campbelltown, St Peters, Rossvale created from the fallout with kind of locals. Giffnock was Harmley Row. West Park came in.
And then you had
Eglinton come in eventually as well. It's BSC as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think the thing for me is the majority of those teams are still where they started. You know, apart from Knightswood, Thorn, you know, they came in. But the majority of teams are still where they started, which has been the progression.
Jonny, I've just seen all that food coming in and I've lost you. I don't even know if I could look at the pizzas coming in. At.
Somebody's just walked in, a young lady and a young man have just walked in with 3 bags, like full takeaway. You'll see like your big Just Eat bags. 3 full Just Eat bags rammed to the brim with pizzas. There must be, 20 pizzas there? Must be, yeah.
Honestly, I think my wife wishes I'd look at it like I looked at the pizzas there.
I'm assuming it's for the hospitality and the players and things like that. Nice. So, but we'll just get a couple of slices under the jumper before we're away.
You've got to pick up the wee fella and I've got a speakers night tonight as well. But there's obviously only so many could go up, right? Now, Cuside Athletic, they were one of the first ones, so they went up.
But are they better though? That's the thing. You know,
in what sense?
Are they more competitive? Have they get better players? Have they get better infrastructure? Have they improved? You know, of these teams that have come through.
I would say the best example, and we seem to talk about them a lot. The best example of progression is the Thorn.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have built year on year, not just on the park, but they've got their own pitch, which is getting better every year. They're doing a lot of work on it. It's properly a community club. They promote within. They just seem to have everything that's going the right way. Whereas your St Peters, Glenville's another one that went up, but I think they've
Sorry,
found
they
their
did, yeah.
level as well.
Mhm.
Glenville,
They were a good side, though. See, when they were in the 4th division, I was in the 4th division at the time with Luger, and Glenville were really impressive. I think they ran away with that.
they won the my first season at St Peters. Glenville were one of the poorer sides in the league, and I think that with Lewis getting in there and getting some assistance for Jamie for Johnson Borough, bringing in your Sean Daly's, your Noah Youngs, that made a huge difference to him. And
John Daly's just went back there as well,
I
isn't he?
saw that.
Aye.
Because he didn't play against Yoker last week, I don't believe, but I believe he's just gone back, which is massive. There's a lot of talent in that league. I mean, you'll know that as well, and even like boys that it's getting a bit heated sounding.
Yeah, is it sounding a bit rowdy? I like it.
Sounding good.
Like it's
Must
obviously
be
coming towards the end of the game. I would imagine Linlithgow are pushing.
They must be getting desperate to get in for these pizzas, honestly. Don't blame them. But well, sitting just now, that's
Look, the old cartoons with the smell wafting through, the dog floating in the air. Do you know?
we're sitting with. I can never pronounce his name right. Mulcahy. I'll go with Mulcahy. See that? It's just came on for Samson with 3 minutes of the 90 remaining. I must say, it's looking like you've battered me today, by the way, in this prediction.
Because I had a word with myself to begin with.
It is. No, Des was holding you back.
That's what it was. That's what it is.
So,
Typical referees conspiring against me.
I know. So sadly, we've not got Des any more ways. He's left us for Pastors News. Too good for us now. But we'll know the quizzes. We need to find something new for that because I did love the quizzes. It was probably one of my favourite parts of the show.
I only when he didn't come out with some nonsensical question like.
He did cheat something. Do you know what?
In what minute in the 1947 Scottish Junior Cup final did Baillieston score their 17th goal? Do you know what I mean?
I know. And he used to actually there was one he did who was the furthest. Was it the
furthest east? Furthest east.
East, and it turned out he was wrong.
I see.
I mean, it was no good days. It was no good days. And last week, his last one. That's probably why he's left. As me and Scott had an absolute blinder last week.
Did you?
Battered them. Well, actually,
to be fair, it's a hard gig because boys are just going to
4-1. We beat them last week.
4-1.
So I go out with Des leaving. It's 3-1 to me in the quizzes. Now it looks like you're going to win this week, right? So that is it'll be 2 wins for me, a draw, and 2 wins for the pundits. So that'll be the first 5 shows. So
if they can hold out, it's a great result for Clydebank. If they can, especially down to 10 men.
Massive result, and it's obviously in terms of the season, it doesn't mean a great deal, and it could it benefit Linlithgow being at the cup as much as they want to do well in it.
Well, it's interesting because we spoke about Clydebank last year because they seem to go out every cup early doors. They did not lose to Athley, they lost to St Rocks as well, did they not? And that certainly didn't hold them back in terms of what they achieved in the league. So maybe
it's one of those ones. Sometimes you need to feel a wee bit of pain to enjoy it later down the road. And there you go. Thanks, Alan Hudson. Linlithgow Rose are down to 10 men as well. We've just had the young team who spent most of the second half drinking pints just in case. Went out. The weather's horrible here. They went out for about 10 minutes if you're lucky, and that's them back in for their pints. So I don't know if that's an indication on the quality of the match or if it's just the weather's that bad.
Aye, well, both teams went down to 10, and that should hopefully make it a bit.
But does this see for Clydebank? Is this a real marker laid in?
I think it's a psychological boost, but I don't know if I would call it a marker. I would call it a boost because you know you can come through here and you can win. And you can go down to 10 men and you can get it out. Now I know Rose went down to 10 men as well, but if they see it out, of course, with hypotheticals, but I don't think it's a marker, but I think it's a boost for them because they know they can come through and keep a clean sheet again.
I know. Another
against a team that's scoring goals for fun.
I know it's going to be such a. I think it is. I'll be honest. I think it is a bit of a marker. You're saying, "You might be top of the league, but we've come to your own place. We've been able to beat you. You've not been able to score when you are scoring a ridiculous amount of goals." I think that they'll be really pleased with that. And if you're Moth, what does that do for you getting into changing room? And another week contentious
No.
issue out there. It's sounding quite spicy.
I love the theatre of just listening to crowds. It's brilliant, isn't it? Just sitting listening to people's reactions to things. It's great. I love how invested. Maybe because I've never been a true. Like, I've never supported a team like really like passionately. I've never had that just because I've always been playing and stuff. So, and my dad wouldn't let me support Rangers because he's kind of against the old firm carry on. So I've never had that. So I love it when you hear fans getting so into it and so passionate about it, and it's what keeps us going. You know,
we're sitting with Rangers just now 2-0 down to Hearts, and it's the worst start Rangers have ever had to a league season. So
what, like 2-0 down?
2-0 down. 2-0 down.
We're not here to cover the SPL. We're here to talk about the.
We're real football.
I know Stevie Dugan's just saying him on the banky, so maybe he thinks it's over.
Stevie's down in London.
Oh, is he? Right.
So Stevie is obviously he does our updates for us
Right.
He's our roving reporter for.
Oh, aye.
And he messaged me earlier saying it's typical. He's there and I'm down in London.
Aye.
Thanks for tuning
Well,
in.
the game's still going on, Stevie, because we can hear the oohs and ahs in the background, but it can't be long to go. I mean, that's now going into 10 to.
But honestly, Stevie, see the smell of the pizzas. Wow. I'm lucky.
Top quality content, right?
I'm lucky I go to the gym so much because if I didn't, I think I'd be the size of a house with how much I love to eat.
I don't go to the gym at all, as you can probably tell. That's why I always do the podcast from there up.
Right, so today we're kind of getting into the last 10 minutes. What would be your result of the day that you've seen so far?
Now you're asking.
Is it going to be Clydebank if they can hold it out because of the?
I don't think it's. Oh. It's one each.
One each.
Yeah.
Oh, apologies if you heard that language there, but it is one each with Linlithgow. That's put me back in.
I know.
One each with Linlithgow and Clydebank right in the
Brilliant. Superb drama, sport. Brilliant. Love it.
Good.
Superb.
Scully going to go there. There we go. So that's.
Does that mean it goes to penalties?
It's going to go to penalties.
And we're going to get cut off there.
Can we take this outside for penalties?
I'll go and stand over there.
It's to be fair, I don't know if we'll have enough time to go to penalties. We just apologies again.
Apologies for the language.
Who scored for Linlithgow? Greg Skinner with a goal there. So that's 1-1. Massive end to the game there. It's this is what you don't get this in that wee radio station.
Brilliant.
Look, that's Toby off. He's getting the Brawleys away to watch it. He's leaving us.
I know.
I was just about to say that I thought if Clydebank could hold it, this would be the biggest result of the day. Linlithgow nearly scored
I
again.
know. Pushing for a winner now. This is.
We've got a corner here, so it's interesting. How hard is it now?
I know why he's going.
Right, we'll see.
Surely the mics can pick us up from over there. You know.
I know.
You can phone me. And I can go and stand over there.
You want to go and stand there? But I had to say that we've got Alan Hudson says
Commentator curse.
Yes. But
We're used to it,
is
Alan.
that a commentator curse for me, or has it been a blessing because I have got the draw? So we're looking at it just now, right? You've gone Clydebank, I've got the draw, so I'm edging that just now. Both went Talbot, so it's still me. You went Knightswood, so it's you. So I need the draw here to get it.
Actually, both got Thornywood one wrong, didn't we?
We both got Thornywood wrong. Because I've been getting a bit of stick about the predictions.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as easy as it seems to
It's
be.
not easy. Not at this level. Not at this level. There's no such thing. You try and put a coupon on every week. See how easy it is. Half-hearted appeals for a penalty there, but it sounds like just one guy, that guy that swore earlier, he's just wanting a penalty.
What's the best comeback you've ever been involved in?
Ever been involved in?
Yep.
Well, can I say I wasn't in the good end of it? Is that still all right?
Go for it.
So Hibs v Dundee, 2005.
I beat my mate than I showed you about Hibs and Dundee.
No, but you'll be pleased when I tell you. This was at the height of Tony Mowbray's Hibs team, absolutely flying. 4-1 up at half time. 10 minutes into the second half, Bobby Mann runs into Gary Caldwell and breaks his ribs, probably on purpose. Bobby, I talk to Bobby pretty regularly on Twitter occasionally, so he'll not mind me saying, he'll probably not be listening, but anyway, breaks Gary Caldwell's ribs. Johnny Bailey comes off the bench. 4 each. Game over. I come off the bench, we're actually passing the ball about, doing the ole, like we're passing the ball 4 each. I felt great. My half-hour contribution.
I think I've said it on this before. Was I was at Mary Hill, so this would have been 2007, and we were playing. Mind you, used to do the old regional League Cup to start the season, and we were playing Ashfield, and 4-0 down with 20 minutes to go, 1-6-4.
Right, brilliant.
Right, so since we've mentioned your Hibs days, right? Who was the best player that you played against at your time at Hibs?
Oh, Henrik Larsson.
How good was he?
Incredible. Just an incredible specimen. You know, everything about him was just like his movement, his ability, his vision. He would play on like the blind side. He would find your blind spot, so you didn't know where he was, and then he would just come across you, and he would move, and you wouldn't know where he was. You would have a grip of him or something, and then he'd be away, and you wouldn't know where he was. You know, it was just incredible and so strong, like so strong. You know, like
I've never had I was fortunate enough to have a short stint at full time in the championship level. Wasn't good enough to play at that level. Didn't even really play that great a level in the juniors for most of my time. Then there was players you played against and they're like, that's a good player. But you're talking about a guy who was arguably world class. I mean, what is the difference for somebody at that level?
It's like I said, it's their movement, it's their anticipation, it's their speed of thought, and it's their strength. You know, they're a different breed in terms of athletes. You know, they're just so strong. As I said, his movement was just frightening. I remember watching the video back of my debut when I played against him, and there was at least 2 or 3 times where if the ball had got to him, he would have scored, and I had no idea where he was. You know that way, just like, I'm glad that didn't get there, that the goalie cut it out, or do you know what I mean, or it was overhit or something like that. It was just things like that. It was just incredible.
It's what about because obviously the time, what was the spell you were at Hibs? So that was
I made my debut 2003,
and it was against Celtic, wasn't it?
Aye.
That was that a cup one?
Aye, League Cup quarter final.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We beat them 2-1. Live on the telly as well on Channel 5. Remember Channel 5 used to be the
was that
John Barnes presenting, remember?
Oh, yeah, was that a sub appearance? Or was
No, I was in for the start, because Colin Murdoch, who was the other centre half, was suspended. So I had a wee inkling that I was going to play. Bobby Williamson was the manager, Hibs manager at the time, and he played a wee mind game with me because he obviously knew this was coming up. So we played Hearts 2 weeks before, and Bobby says, I think I'm going to play against Hearts. And I think he did that just to see my reaction and see how I would respond. And then he didn't. I was on the bench because I was on the bench all season basically until this game was in December. But I knew Colin was suspended, and there was no real other set. I was like next in line, so I knew there was a fair chance I was going to play.
Wait, did you 17?
18. I just turned 18.
Something else to that, I think.
So
did you play in an end of derby?
I didn't. No, I actually didn't. No, the only one I played in was. Do you remember they used to do the Festival Cup at the start of the season? So I played in that at Tynecastle. I can tell you a story about that. So I was younger than that. I was maybe 17, and I was playing in that. And do you remember Mark De Vries?
Oh, aye.
Absolute mountain of a man, like mountain of a man. And he came off the bench at a corner for Hearts. And I said to Ian Murray, I'll mark him, try to be the big man. And he just went like that, shoved me one way and then went the other way and scored. So I made a few bad decisions, I know, but I was just trying to be the big man that backfired on me. But I know that was only, there was still maybe 12,000, 13,000 at that one. So, because it was...
That's the equivalent of St Mirren and Morton playing in the Renfrewshire Cup.
Aye, pretty much. And then they done away with it. But no, I never played against that. I played against Celtic twice. Never played against Rangers. And then a couple of games, Livingston, and a couple of cup games, Alloa, things like that.
I made the short level in my only senior appearance against Queen of South.
But I tell you though, you'll know this as well, like, the reserve football back then.
That was good.
Reserve football back then was just as tough as first team football, because everybody that didn't play in the first team in the Saturday played in the reserves. There was no kind of if, buts or maybes. It was, if you didn't play with the first team on the Saturday, you were playing with the Resis on the Monday.
Because I remember playing against Rangers with the reserves and having to mark Charlie Adam.
Aye.
You know what I mean, that was the standard.
Oh no,
just before he went to. Was it That was just before it,
Blackpool.
literally weeks before we went to Blackpool.
I remember we played Celtic at Easter Road in a reserve game, and Celtic lineup was I won't go through the whole lineup, but David Marshall in nets, John Kennedy played, Stephen Craney played, Steve Guppy played, Didier Agat played, Paul Lambert played, Sean Maloney played, Craig Beattie played.
You've just mentioned 6 Scottish internationals.
Do you know what I mean? And what they did was they took centre, kicked it over the top to Didier Agat, who ran in and scored, made it 1-0, and then they kept the ball off us for the rest of the game. Paul Lambert played, see how Celtic used to play 3-5-2 back then with Matt O'Neill. Paul Lambert played central, middle of the 3 in defence, and just kept the ball off us for the full game. That was incredible. See, watching him play, I'll never forget that night, because he would get the ball and move it, he would go into midfield, triangles, it was just...
It's a different level, isn't it?
Oh.
I think at this, we praise this level so much and we talk about how good players are, but I don't think you appreciate how good the top players are.
Aye. But again, it comes back to what I always say about young players. Like, I was 17 playing in these games.
Aye.
And all the boys that came through with me, guys like Scott Brown and Kevin Thompson, we were all that age playing in these games, in these reserve games. Now you've got boys at 23 and they go, but he's a young player.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, no, he isn't.
No, look, it's different. But look, that's us just about to wrap up. Thank you so much to everybody.
So did we draw then?
It looks like we've drawn because the game's out to go. We're actually,
well, at least the car at home will be pretty civil. Oh, wait there.
Oh, we don't know what's just
happened. Wait there.
We've only got 15
Oh, no. Quick.
So I don't know what's happened. Johnny, go and look. And I'll continue to talk. You'll even get a wee extra half a minute. It's Johnny's away just now. But look, I really appreciate everybody who's tuned in today, the numbers that you've watched, and greatly appreciated. As always, some of the differences. It's going. So that's as a draw in PG versus Johnny today. But Johnny, one there before we finish up. So we've just got a draw. It's going 1 each. So that's been a draw. I'm going to say about 8 times, but we're drawing now, right? So thanks to everybody for tuning in. We're going to nip out and watch the penalties. Sorry we can't be staying live for that. But thank you very much to everybody. Have a good weekend.
Tune in tomorrow night. WSFL Weekly back live on YouTube, 7 o'clock. Villa Clyde manager John Hughes. See you there.
See you there. Cheers. Bye-bye.